Chapter 36:13. Xiao Yinyan's handsome face instantly flushed with embarrassment. Father, Aluo only came to the residence. I understand. I've been through it. Of course I understand. Patriarch Xiao patted his son's shoulder and smiled at Yi Qing Luo. Miss D, let's go to the main hall and have a good chat. Yi Qing Luo. Indeed, Patriarch Xiao had misunderstood the relationship between her and Xiao Yinyan. But Xiao Yinyan's ambiguous attitude towards her was indeed very easy to misunderstand. Even she had misunderstood that Xiao Yinyan had some other thoughts towards her. Seeing Xiao Yinyan's awkward expression, wanting to explain, but was interrupted by Patriarch Xiao in various ways. Yi Qing Luo sighed. She could tell that Patriarch Xiao valued his son or daughter very much. Patriarch Xiao definitely knew what Xiao Yinyan wanted to say, but intentionally interrupted repeatedly, just to let this misunderstanding continue. Who knows? This misunderstanding might become real as it continues to spread. But Yi Qing Luo expressed that no matter how this misunderstanding continued, it would not become true, rather than letting the elders be filled with hope. Why not make things clear right from the start? She coughed lightly and interrupted Patriarch Xiao's enthusiasm. Thank you, Patriarch Xiao, for your concern. I'm here on an important matter, so I won't disturb Patriarch Xiao to accompany me personally. Patriarch Xiao was first stunned and then laughed. That's true, you youngsters. Only like 2 people. Father, Xiao Yinyan wanted to explain. Patriarch Xiao stared at his son. Did you hear that? Young ladies like 2 people to interact in private. In future, when you're free, spend more time with Miss D. It's best if it's 2 people in private. As he said that, he intentionally emphasized on the words 2 people in private. Xiao Yinyan, his heart was so tired, there was no way to communicate properly with his father. It was Yi Qing Luo who revealed a hesitant expression on her face as she said helplessly, Yinyan and I are just ordinary friends. If Yinyan keeps accompanying me privately, my fiancé will probably be jealous. What do you mean? This kid doesn't have a lot of things, but he has a lot of time to accompany you. Patriarch Xiao suddenly stopped speaking, as if he had just realized something. His eyes widened. Fiancé? You have a fiancé? Yi Qing Luo blinked her eyes innocently and naively. Yes, Xinyan also knows about this matter. Didn't he tell you? Patriarch Xiao glared at Xiao Yinyan. Then, he gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. F***CK. That damned old man actually dared to lie to me. Who said she could be my daughter-in-law? Your father must tear him apart. Xiao family's head cursed as he clenched his fists. He cracked his knuckles and quickly left. Yi Qing Luo. How realistic after knowing that she had a fiancé. His attitude changed. However, just now, when Patriarch Xiao mentioned that damn old man, who was he referring to? What Patriarch Xiao said seemed to be, someone lied to him, saying that she could become Xiao family's daughter-in-law? Cough. Aluo, don't mind him. My father, he's anxious to carry a grandson, so he did that. Xiao Yinyan explained awkwardly. Who is the damn old man that your father was talking about? Yi Qing Luo felt that this old man was someone she knew. Chapter 36:14. Yi Qing Luo retracted her gaze and said, Forget it. Let's go to Mysterious Fairy's courtyard first. In order to avoid the awkwardness between the two due to Lord Xiao's disturbance, Xiao Yinyan immediately brought Yi Qing Luo to Xiao Yulu's courtyard. Xiao Yulu was indeed the second daughter of the Xiao family, coupled with her identity as Mysterious Fairy. The location of her courtyard was the best location in the entire Xiao residence. The decor was luxurious and elegant, showing nobility everywhere. Yi Qing Luo clicked her tongue. She had grown up in such an environment with a distinguished status and a doting father. She had never suffered any unequal treatment. It was no wonder that Xiao Yulu's character was so arrogant. With Xiao Yinyan leading the way, the two of them entered Xiao Yulu's courtyard one after another. There were at least 10 overmaids walking back and forth in the courtyard. Yiqing Luo swept a glance around. She discovered that there were quite a number of cultivators with weak breaths hidden in the dark corners of the courtyard. All of their profound qi fluctuations were not weak. They should be the secret guards that the Linglong Palace had sent to Qiao Yulu. After turning several corridors, they arrived at the inner courtyard. The atmosphere in the inner courtyard was much more elegant and bright than the luxurious outside. Walking straight, the two of them stopped outside the most spacious room. At the door, a maid who was dressed like a flower, and the moment she saw Qiao Yinyan, her eyes lit up. "Eldest young master!" That maid hurriedly went forward and looked at Qiao Yinyan with eyes full of love. Towards the maid's flirting, Qiao Yinyan looked straight ahead and asked faintly, "How is Princess Yulu?" "Princess Yulu just drank her medicine and is still resting." The maidservant replied in a sweet voice, "Eldest young master, you don't have to worry too much. With me taking care of her, she will definitely be fine after resting for a few days." As the maid spoke, she moved closer to Qiao Yinyan. That obvious action. It was obvious that she wanted to tell Qiao Yinyan, "I'm interested in you. I want to woo you." Qiao Yinyan's expression was still calm, and the moment the maid leaned over, his body moved slightly to the side. The maidservant missed and stumbled, falling to the ground. Immediately, the maidservant's face was covered in tears. She stretched out her hand toward Qiao Yinyan. "Eldest young master, this servant is in so much pain. Please support this servant." Qiao Yinyan ignored her outstretched hand and calmly said, "Since Princess Yulu is inside, I'll bring the guest in directly." After saying that, he walked past the servant girl lying on the ground and walked to the tightly shut door. Qiao Yinyan pushed open the door with a creak. After that, he said to Yiqing Luo, "Miss D, you first." After all, it was a woman's room. Qiao Yinyan didn't enter the room first. He wanted to let the maidservant inform them before entering. But looking at the maidservant's expression, Qiao Yinyan simply let Yiqing Luo enter first. Yiqing Luo understood Qiao Yinyan's concerns and nodded as she walked straight into the room. It was only then that the maid who was lying on the ground noticed that there was someone else beside the eldest young master. The maidservant's gaze fell on Yiqing Luo, who had just stepped into the room. Suddenly, her pupils dilated, and she stood up from the ground with a look of disgust and fierceness. "It's you, you slut? What do you want to do to my Princess Yulu while she is injured?" The maidservant stood in front of Yiqing Luo. Her face was full of arrogance. Yiqing Luo also saw the maidservant in front of her clearly. Chapter 36:15. Kaidai was Qiao Yulu's personal maid. Naturally, she was very clear about how much her mistress hated Yiqing Luo. How could she allow Yiqing Luo to appear in front of her mistress? Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes and glanced at Kaidai, who had opened her arms to block her. Her pink lips slowly curled into a sneer of disdain. She looked sideways at Qiao Yinyan. "Are all your Qiao family's maids so fierce?" "Slut, who are you calling fierce?" Kaidai's face changed drastically. Unwilling to lose face in front of her sweetheart, she immediately shouted out angrily. Yiqing Luo tilted her head. "I'm talking about whoever is agitated." "You." Kaidai's face turned livid as she pointed at Yiqing Luo. "Anyway, I will not let you near Princess Yulu." Kaidai. Qiao Yinyan frowned between his brows, exuded the prestige of a superior as he stared coldly at Kaidai. "No matter where you come from, in the Qiao residence, you are only a Qiao family's maid. Humiliating this young master's friend in front of this young master. Is this your etiquette as a maidservant?" Kaidai's face suddenly turned pale. "Eldest young master, There's no need to explain. I've seen and heard everything clearly." Qiao Yinyan waved his hand, and a powerful gust of wind swept toward Qingnan. Kaidai's body was thrown to the ground and crashed into the room, heavily hitting the good mahogany table. The mahogany table broke. Kaidai cried out, "Io yo yo," as she fell to the ground. "What happened?" Qiao Yulu's angry voice was heard from the inner room. Immediately, a slender figure walked out from the inner room. The woman's white, long dress hung loosely on her body, showing off her delicate figure. Her face was covered with a black veil, completely concealing her face. Even her eyes were not revealed. Her hair was loose on her shoulders, not tied up. Obviously, she had just gotten out of bed when she saw Yiqing Luo through the black veil. Yiqing Luo clearly felt the strong hatred of the woman opposite her. Yiqing Luo frowned. Judging from his appearance, his voice, and the feeling that the person in front of her gave her, Yiqing Luo also felt that the person in front of him was Xiao Yulu. However, the woman in front of her seemed to hate her a little too much. "It's you." Xiao Yulu's eyes were cold as she spat out 2 words through gritted teeth. Kaidai held her sore body and hugged Xiao Yulu's foot. "Princess Yulu, this cheap woman is bullying this servant. You must help this servant." Yiqing Luo, who got shot while lying down. It was obviously Xiao Inyan who did it. Xiao Yulu's gaze turned cold. "Why? Just because this consort's big brother likes you. You brazenly came to this consort's courtyard to kill this consort?" "Princess Yulu," Xiao Inyan interrupted Xiao Yulu with a frown. "I was the one who attacked your maidservant. I was the one who brought Aluo here." "This has nothing to do with Aluo." Xiao Yulu sneered. "You've never taken me as your sister in your heart. Knowing that I'm not feeling well, you deliberately brought her in front of me. Aren't you afraid that she will kill me?" "Aluo is not that kind of person," Xiao Inyan replied calmly. Xiao Yulu laughed even more sarcastically and looked at Yiqing Luo. "You must be very proud of yourself, seeing that this consort's big brother disregarded his sibling relationship for you. You must be laughing in your heart. Whatever you think." Yiqing Luo's eyes were burning as she stared at Xiao Yulu's black veil. Her gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the veil. Chapter 36:16. Xiao Yulu, who was stared at by Yiqing Luo's torchlight gaze, was obviously flustered. Xiao Yulu turned her head away unnaturally, avoiding eye contact with Yiqing Luo, while speaking fiercely. "What are you looking at? Do you want to laugh at me when you see me like this?" "Yes, it's ridiculous." Facing Xiao Yulu's anger, Yiqing Luo appeared extremely calm. She responded to Xiao Yulu's words lazily with a scornful tone. "The dignified, mysterious fairy of without embroiling city doesn't even dare to show her face. Isn't it ridiculous?" "You." Xiao Yulu's finger that was pointing at Yiqing Luo kept trembling. Yiqing Luo tilted her head and smiled innocently. Xiao Yulu withdrew her hand forcefully. Her eyes under the black veil stared at Xiao Inyan with hatred. "Brother, I am tired and have no energy to deal with you. Please take your guest out." Xiao Inyan took a look at Yiqing Luo. Seeing her calm expression, he shifted his gaze to Xiao Yulu. He paused, as if he was weighing his words. After hesitating for a long time, he looked at Xiao Yulu and said, "Princess Yulu, Miss D came to visit you personally out of concern for you." "Concern for me? You are concerned about when I will die." Xiao Yulu didn't believe Xiao Inyan's words. Yiqing Luo smiled. "You're quite self-aware." Xiao Yulu's face immediately turned pale. She clenched her fists tightly and clenched her teeth until her knuckles creaked. Even through the black veil, Yiqing Luo could feel how distorted Xiao Yulu's face would be under the veil. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly and wantonly. Her slender and fair hand curled up slightly and rested on her smooth chin. She tilted her head to look at Xiao Yulu. Her lips curled up again. The smile on the corner of her mouth was like a blooming datura flower, enchanting and full of suffocating charm. Even Xiao Yulu, who was filled with hatred, when she saw this smile, his pupils involuntarily shrank a little. His heart felt as if it was being ruthlessly pressed by something. Immediately after, the young girl's enchanting voice drifted into Xiao Yulu's ears, word by word. "If I'm not mistaken, the reason why the Empyrean fairy doesn't dare to show her face is because yesterday she tried to plot against me, but ended up being used instead. You were swallowed by the formation spirit, and although you were lucky enough to escape, your face was more than half destroyed by the formation spirit." She paused and chuckled. "Am I right?" Following Yi Qing Luo's words, every single word was said out. Yi Qing Luo noticed that the lady in front of her started to tremble continuously. Perhaps Xiao Yilu herself hadn't realized it yet. Her body, which was wrapped in a long white dress, was tense and trembling. This reaction, it was obvious that Yi Qing Luo had hit the mark on Xiao Yilu's heart. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. Her intuition was right. The person in the soul-devouring array yesterday was Xiao Yilu. And the person he had seen in the Qiao mansion was indeed Xiao Yilu. There was no so-called real or fake Xiao Yilu. But what made Yi Qing Luo curious was, what method did Xiao Yilu use to escape safely from the array core spirits devouring? Yi Qing Luo examined Xiao Yilu. Xiao Yilu didn't say a word. Chapter 36:17. Xiao Yilu had been suppressing a ball of anger in her chest because of Yi Qing Luo. And to hear Yi Qing Luo's sarcastic words, the anger immediately surged to her head. "Slut, haven't you caused enough trouble for me? I'm going to kill you." Xiao Yilu's aura surged as she swiftly pounced towards Yi Qing Luo. Xiao Yilu was obviously infuriated. This pounce was full of vigor and incomparably ferocious, filled with a chilling, murderous intent. A close distance, Yi Qing Luo could almost see the pair of icy cold and murderous eyes under Xiao Yilu's black veil. Raging profound qi surged out from Xiao Yilu's body. The entire room was stirred up by a hurricane. "All these should be borne by you. You offended that group of black-robed men. On what basis should I bear the consequences?" Xiao Yilu gritted her teeth as she bellowed, venting the anger in her heart. "Di Luo, even if I'm destroyed, I want you to be buried with me." Her words were filled with murderous intent. Xiao Yilu's attack surged again. The cold and raging profound energy was like a hot knife through butter, as though she was going to perish together with someone. Xiao Yilu's words also admitted Yi Qing Luo's earlier guess. Xiao Yinyan linked the conversation between the both of them and what Yi Qing Luo had explained to him yesterday. He immediately understood the cause and effect. Yesterday, in the spirit-devouring formation, Xiao Yilu, whom Yi Qing Luo thought was dead, was indeed his second sister, the mysterious fairy of Without Embroiling City. Now, the injured Xiao Yilu lying in the Qiao residence was also Xiao Yilu, which meant it was indeed Xiao Yilu who had joined hands with others to harm Yi Qing Luo. Looking at Xiao Yilu's murderous attack, Xiao Yinyan's brows knitted into a bundle. He raised his hand and waved his sleeve to set off the profound wave, blocking Xiao Yilu's attack as he shouted, "Are you done?" Xiao Yinyan. All of Xiao Yilu's actions were blocked. She was so angry that she shouted Xiao Yinyan's full name through gritted teeth. "It's her. She almost killed me. It was her who nearly caused you to lose your only biological sister in this world. How dare you say that this empress is causing trouble? Although I don't know the details, I know that Luo is not the kind of person who would cause trouble." Xiao Yinyan looked at Xiao Yilu calmly. "As the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City, you colluded with people from outside the city to set up a sinister formation like the soul-devouring formation in the city, just to deal with Luo. Do you really think that your actions are right? Your heart is biased towards her, so even my breathing is wrong." Xiao Yilu sneered. "Since you're biased towards that slut, don't blame this consort for not giving face to your big brother." As Xiao Yilu's voice fell, the profound energy surrounding her increased explosively once again. The moment Xiao Yilu made her move, a black ray of light surged out of her palms. Yi Qing Luo's eyes flashed. This black, profound light, it was very similar to the evil aura he sensed in the soul-devouring formation. Could it be the betrayed Xiao Yilu had some kind of deal with that group of black-robed men? There was no time to think too much. Xiao Yilu's wave of evil attack was already approaching. Yi Qing Luo stretched out her hand and pulled Xiao Yinyan, who was about to block in front of her. With a backhand, Yi Qing Luo pushed Xiao Yinyan out of the room. Chapter 36:18. Slut, do you think you can still have yesterday's good luck? When Xiao Yulu saw that Yi Qing Luo still wanted to retaliate, anger surged to her head once again. The black profound light burst out from her body like a fairy scattering flowers, spreading in all directions and shooting out. It was obvious that she was full of energy, determined to take Yi Qing Luo's life. Xiao Yinyan, who was standing outside the door, was full of shock when he saw Xiao Yulu like this. When did his sister have such a powerful and shocking power? This had obviously broken through the spirit mystic realm and advanced to God. Even he didn't have the confidence to take on Xiao Yulu's attack. No, something was wrong. Xiao Yulu's power had definitely not broken through to the spirit mystic realm before today. Based on Xiao Yulu's character, if Xiao Yulu had already broken through to the spirit mystic realm and become a god, she would definitely flaunt it to let the entire without embroiling city know about this. To Xiao Yulu, this twin sister, even if they didn't spend much time together, Xiao Yinyan could also be sure that Xiao Yulu had always been jealous of him. Jealous that he was the eldest son. Jealous that he was called a genius since young. Because of his existence, she was so intelligent and talented, but all the light was forcibly overshadowed. So, if Xiao Yulu had any areas that could surpass him, it would absolutely be widely publicized. But what was with the power that Xiao Yulu had released now? Xiao Yulu's violent attack was approaching Yi Qing Luo. The speed was as fast as lightning. Only a trace of afterimage could be seen. But Yi Qing Luo seemed to have not noticed it, standing in the same place, holding the glower flame fan tightly, her eyes full of vigilance. Luo. Xiao Yinyan didn't care that he was currently not Xiao Yulu's opponent and immediately rushed forward. The ranks after the Paragon realm were all leaps and bounds in quality, especially when one stepped into the spirit mystic realm and became a godlike cultivator. All the profound energy that was released was accompanied by a shocking aura. Moreover, it was the most difficult to deal with a spirit mystic realm cultivator, because a spirit mystic realm cultivator would be covered with a layer of protective aura, similar to a shield, fighting against a spirit mystic realm cultivator, unless the spirit mystic realm cultivator's shield was broken. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to injure a spirit Xian expert. In other words, it was equivalent to having an extra life compared to other profound practitioners. This was the reason why everyone wanted to become a god. Although Xiao Yinyan couldn't see through Yi Qing Luo's profound grade, but he was also clear that Yi Qing Luo's power was probably around the level of Sage Profound. Xiao Yulu, who had already broken through to the divine profound realm. Every counterattack was like striking a rock with an egg. But just as Xiao Yinyan was about to rush forward and block for Yi Qing Luo, Xiao Yinyan only saw a white shadow flash past his eyes. Immediately after, he was thrown out of the door by a huge creature. With a paw sound, the door was tightly shut by the hurricane. Xiao Yinyan was shocked, and he pushed away the huge thing that was pouncing on him. When he touched it, it was a piece of soft fur. In front of him, the thing with its thick claws pressing down on his body was actually a snow-white tiger beast. What was going on in the room? After asking Chi-Chi to stop Xiao Yinyan, Yi Qing Luo raised her wrist abruptly. The glower flame fan in her hand instantly left her hand. Her figure moved, and her footwork was quickly displayed. Chapter 36:19. The airwaves rolled, and the profound wave was aggressive. The glower flame fan shot out like a sharp blade. The monstrous red profound light burst out, as if a raging flame had split the heaven and earth. The speed of the glower flame fan was extremely fast. Xiao Yulu's expression congealed. The gaze under the veil was like a malicious, poisonous snake, cold and ruthless. This is not the array. Without that lover of yours by your side, do you think you can break through this consort's attack with such insignificant tricks? Her arms shook. The profound energy in her body was like a sharp wind blade, wave after wave, vibrating out from her body. The black profound light, turned into sharp blades. They were like steel blades that blocked the glowing flame fan. Tight and like a dense big net, it collided with Yi Qing Luo's profound energy. Just at this moment, the young lady's lips suddenly curled into a sly sneer. Xiao Yulu's heart trembled when she saw that sneer. She realized something was wrong, but it was too late. Just at the moment when her profound energy and Yi Qing Luo's profound energy collided, that glower flame fan, which was just blocked, it was like a blazing fire, expanding and surging in an instant. The red of the flames dyed everything in the surroundings red. It also dyed Xiao Yulu's eyes, which were hidden under the black veil. It was this dazzling moment. It made Xiao Yulu neglect that glower flame fan, which flew out from the raging flames. Following the movement of Yi Qing Luo's fingertips, the glower flame fan had already wrapped around Xiao Yulu's face with the force of 1,000 caddies. Until Xiao Yulu reacted, the sharp red glow of the glower flame fan had already cut through Xiao Yulu's black veil. Damn it! Xiao Yulu was flustered. Her palm wind was swift and fierce, striking towards the glower flame fan. But a delicate hand held the handle of the glower flame fan. The glower flame fan flipped and swept up a hurricane, causing Xiao Yulu's palm wind to fly back. Xiao Yulu was stunned as she quickly raised her head. She saw Yi Qing Luo, holding the glower flame fan, had already retreated to a relatively safe position, looking at her with a ridiculing smile. The black veil floated, falling beside her feet. Xiao Yulu fell niche at her feet as she looked down. We saw the black veil. Her pupils suddenly shrank. A deafening scream came out of his mouth. Ah, my face! She suddenly knelt on the ground and frantically reached for her veil, trying to cover her face again. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up as she flicked her fingers. The glowing flame fan stirred up a gust of wind and blew the black veil away. Xiao Yulu's eyes reddened. He was like a trapped beast, his entire body emitting a violent and violent aura. Her scarlet eyes stared venomously at Yi Qing Luo as her voice was hoarse. What on earth do you want? She had squeezed each word out of her mouth through gritted teeth. Chapter 36:20. It was imaginable how much of a blow this was to Xiao Yulu. It was no wonder that Xiao Yulu claimed to be sick and hid in the room, even covering her face, not even daring to show her eyes. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she looked at Xiao Yulu covering her face with both hands, desperately trying to hide her face, and stared at her with venomous eyes. The more was like this. The anger in Xiao Yulu's heart grew. It almost burned Xiao Yulu's rationality. Is this the price to pay for escaping from the devouring of the array coarse spirit? Yi Qing Luo ignored Xiao Yulu's murderous gaze and asked with her pink lips curled. That face obviously had gone through some kind of corrosion to become like this. The only thing Yi Qing Luo could think of was the array coarse spirit. Slut, it's all because of you. It's all because of you. The angrier Xiao Yulu was, the more the corroded flesh on her face wriggled. It looked extremely horrifying. Kai Dai, who was thrown to the corner, when she saw this face, she couldn't help but tremble. She screamed in horror. She was so scared that she fainted. This made Xiao Yulu, who was already concerned about her face, to add another fire in her heart. At this moment, the tightly shut door was forcefully smashed open. The door couldn't bear the impact and shattered into sawdust on the ground. A figure rushed in and asked in a worried tone, Luo, are you all right? Xiao Yinyan rushed into the room and stared at Yi Qing Luo from head to toe. After confirming that Yi Qing Luo was not injured, he then looked at Xiao Yulu. When he touched Xiao Yulu's face, Xiao Yinyan's handsome face couldn't help but twitch slightly. Xiao Yulu screamed and quickly rushed back to the inner hall and jumped on her bed. The gauze curtain slid down and covered Xiao Yulu. Xiao Yinyan was stunned on the spot and hadn't recovered from the shock. Her face was seen by 3 people consecutively. Xiao Yulu completely broke down. She covered herself under the quilt and shouted crazily, All of you get out! All of you get out! This sharp, ear-piercing scream also woke Xiao Yinyan up. He turned his head stiffly as he looked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. What's going on? After he was locked outside by Yi Qing Luo, he was intercepted by a snow-white tiger beast at the entrance. That tiger beast didn't harbor any malice towards him. It should be Yi Qing Luo's war pet. However, two screams suddenly came from inside the house. Each was sharper than the last. This worried Xiao Yinyan, so he forced his way in. But unexpectedly, he would see his own sister in such a state. Yi Qing Luo took a look at Xiao Yulu, who was curled up on the bed, and shrugged her shoulders. It's probably the effect of being swallowed by the array core spirit. She only had her face destroyed, but at least she wasn't devoured by the spirit of the formation eye. She can be considered lucky. Lucky? If you think this is luck, then you're ruining your own face. This empress will let you have this luck. When Xiao Yulu heard Yi Qing Luo's words of "it's easy to talk," she was so infuriated that her heart was trembling. Yi Qing Luo smiled. It's not that I'm sinister and wanted to make use of strangers to achieve my own goal. You only have yourself to blame for being swallowed by the spirit of the formation eye and having your face destroyed. Xiao Yulu was flustered and exasperated as she was about to crawl out of the quilt and berate Yi Qing Luo. Before she could speak, Xiao Yinyan interrupted, "Princess Yulu." Chapter 36:21. Without waiting for Xiao Yulu to answer, Yi Qing Luo was already shaking her head. The spirit devourer formation's eye spirit is extremely sinister. Her face is corroded by the evil qi, so it's impossible to use profound qi to restore it. If he could really recover. When Xiao Yulu had escaped back to the Qiao residence, she had already used her profound qi to restore her face. For her, face was much more important than one's profound strength. Xiao Yinyan naturally knew how important Xiao Yulu's face was to Xiao Yulu. His brows were tightly knitted and his face was filled with worry. After all, Xiao Yulu was his younger sister, and also the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City. Xiao Yulu's face became like this. If the news spread to the palace of Linglong, they would probably blame the Qiao family for not taking good care of the mysterious fairy. It would also drag Di Luo into this. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes lit up slightly as he looked at Yi Qing Luo. Luo, I have a presumptuous request." His eyes seemed to be glowing, filled with hope. He didn't hide his thoughts at all. This made Yi Qing Luo unable to restrain her laughter. She chuckled. "You want the beauty cream, right?" Xiao Yinyan glanced at Xiao Yulu, who was curled up under the blanket, and sighed. Her face can't be like this. At least, not in Without Embroiling City. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows slightly. If I give it to her, she might not use it. She will. Xiao Yulu, who valued her beauty as much as her life, would never let go of a chance to regain her looks. Yi Qing Luo flicked her fingers, and a transparent bottle fell into Xiao Yinyan's hand. Twice a day, once in the morning and once in the morning. Judging from the condition of the Empyrean fairy's face, this bottle can only last her for 3 days at most. Xiao Yinyan took the bottle and thanked her. "Thank you. I only gave it to you because you personally asked for it. You don't need to thank me. Just treat it as me returning the favor." As Yi Qing Luo was saying that, her peripheral vision swept towards Xiao Yulu. The shadow cast through the gauze curtain. Yi Qing Luo obviously saw it when she took out the beautifying cream. Xiao Yulu's head popped out from under the blanket. Obviously, he was tempted. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into an undetectable arc as she turned around and walked out of the room. Whether she uses it or not is her business. I still have things to do at treasure gathering, so I'll head back first. When she reached the entrance, Yi Qing Luo stopped in her tracks and took a look at Xiao Yinyan. "There's no need to send me off. Accompany mysterious maiden well. At the very least, I can't die so easily before the auction ends and the bet between me and her." She chuckled and walked away, looking at the young girl's elegant back view. Xiao Yinyan slowly retracted his gaze and looked at the transparent bottle in his palm. Chapter 36:22. However, Xiao Yinyan was straightforward. He used the words disgusting and horrible to describe Xiao Yulu's face. It was like stabbing a knife into Xiao Yulu's heart. Xiao Yulu's heart ached to have such a biased brother. Xiao Yinyan's expression was calm as he looked at the person under the quilt. As your big brother, I've asked for it for you. It's up to you whether you believe me or use it. Then, he turned and left Xiao Yulu's room without saying anything else. Xiao Yulu stared blankly at the medicine bottle on the bed. Then, the wooden door that Xiao Yinyan had broken was blown up by a gust of wind, blocking the sound of the door opening. Xiao Yulu came to her senses. She curled up under the quilt in a daze. All the hysteria had vanished into thin air. His horrifying face, which was full of rotten flesh, also relaxed. The only two intact eyes were filled with pain. What she cared about the most, it was his own face. But now, it was destroyed by that formation. She couldn't appear in front of others with such a face. She was the Empyrean fairy of without embroiling city. She was the Empyrean fairy who was respected by everyone. She couldn't ruin everyone's life just because her face was destroyed. Little by little, Xiao Yulu's line of sight shifted to the crystal-clear medicine bottle on the bed. The jade bottle was exquisite and small. The medicine was pink and emitted a colorful, alluring light. Little by little, her hand moved towards the bottle of medicine. This was something that Di Luo, that bitch, had taken out. Would Di Luo, that bitch, really save her? Would this thing really be useful? Xiao Yulu struggled in her heart. On one hand, she wanted to restore her face. She felt that Di Luo owed Xiao Yinyan a favor. Since Xiao Yinyan had asked her personally, Di Luo wouldn't use Xiao Yinyan to harm her. After all, Di Luo owed Xiao Yinyan even more if she dragged him into this. On the other hand, Xiao Yulu didn't want to use Di Luo's thing. She suspected that Di Luo had poisoned the medicine. She wanted to kill her. The anxiety in her heart made Xiao Yulu unable to make a decision. Then, her gaze slowly fell on Kai Dai, who had fainted on the ground, her face pale. The other side, leaving Qiao residence, Yiqing Luo carried Chi and headed directly towards the direction of the gathering treasure. Old Man Song said from within the Azure Dew bracelet, "You want to use the beautifying ointment to help treasure gathering auction seize the honor of being the best auction house. Now that you're giving the beautifying ointment to Qiao Yulu, aren't you afraid that she'll secretly plot against you? Her face is already like that. How can I just stand by and watch? What's more, I can also return Yin a favor." Yiqing Luo gave an unfathomable smile. "How could you be so kind?" Old Man Song expressed his disbelief. "You couldn't have poisoned that bottle of beautifying cream, right?" Yiqing Luo. "Did she look like that kind of person?" Old Man Song answered without the slightest hesitation, "Yes." Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she rolled her eyes. "There's no problem with that bottle of beauty cream, and indeed, there's a chance to cure that corroded face of hers." Old Man Song's tone was still suspicious. "Are you secretly plotting something?" Yiqing Luo. In Old Man Song's heart, what kind of image did she have? It was rare that she wanted to be a good person, but she had to be suspected in various ways. Chapter 36:23. However, plans couldn't keep up with changes. The current situation saved her the trouble of scheming against Xiao Yulu. Initially, he was discussing with Gu Zishi how to promote the beauty cream. Yiqing Luo immediately thought of Xiao Yulu. His original plan was to cause trouble for Xiao Yulu and take the opportunity to poison her. After Xiao Yulu was poisoned and disfigured, then he arranged for someone to push the beautifying cream to Xiao Yulu. As the Empyrean fairy, Xiao Yulu would definitely want to buy the beauty cream if it was effective. At that time, wouldn't the beautifying cream be promoted? But now, there was no need to go through the trouble of poisoning it. Xiao Yulu had already disfigured herself. However, in the end, it still achieved the final result. Xiao Yulu would definitely visit her again and ask for the beauty cream. The Empyrean maiden wouldn't use the things that you took out, right? Old Man Song was very doubtful. She will. Yi Qing Luo replied confidently, because she cares too much about that face. In any case, his face was already ruined to such a state. Try the beautifying cream. At most, it would just add a little more flesh. Therefore, Xiao Yulu would definitely use it. But Yi Qing Luo guessed that perhaps Xiao Yulu would choose another, more bloody method to use the beautifying ointment. Of course, none of this had much to do with her. The foreplay that she needed to do was all done. What he needed to do now was, he was waiting for the fish to take the bait. For the next few days, Yi Qing Luo didn't go anywhere. He stayed in the treasure-gathering hall and refined all kinds of beautifying ointments. It wasn't until the third day that Gu Zishi finished refining all of the medicinal herbs she had gathered that she walked out of her room. These few days, the treasure-gathering grounds were calm and peaceful. City Lord Lu did not come to cause trouble. Xiao Yilu was also quiet and did not cause any trouble. Xiao Yinyan was the only one who came to Treasure Gathering Hall every day to run errands and receive guests. That's right, customers. Ever since that day when Xiao Yulu injured the citizens, Pei Sheng had taken good care of her. The majority of without embroiling city citizens had completely changed their opinion of treasure gathering and Pei Sheng. On top of that, Xiao Yinyan, the genius youth, ran to the treasure gathering hall every day. It did attract some citizens to come to visit. However, Gu Zishi did not wake up. Even if treasure gathering hall had customers again, Pei Sheng was still not in high spirits. After Yi Qing Luo walked out of the room, Pei Sheng hurriedly came forward. Ah Luo, when will little sister wake up? Yi Qing Luo walked to the next room and checked on Gu Zishi's condition. Gu Zishi was fine. Perhaps it was because he had exhausted too much of his energy in the soul-devouring formation and the soul-devouring formation's influence on his soul. He felt somewhat fatigued. He should be able to wake up after sleeping for another day or two. However, Pei Sheng's face was filled with worry. Yi Qing Luo's words suddenly changed, and her lips curled up as she teasingly asked, "These few days, did you feed her medicine on time?" "Yes." Pei Sheng quickly nodded. Yi Qing Luo nodded and raised her slender brows, pretending to be serious. "Are you sure you really fed the medicine into Zishi's mouth and into her body?" Pei Sheng nodded vigorously. "I fed her the medicine myself. She's unconscious. Does she know how to swallow? Even if you fed the medicine to the side of her mouth, she shouldn't know how to swallow it right." Yi Qing Luo touched her chin. "Don't tell me the medicine flowed onto the pillow and you thought she drank it." Chapter 36:24. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with ridicule and ridicule, but her mouth was still pretending to be puzzled. "Are you sure? How can you be sure?" I. Pei Sheng's face was so red that no other color could be seen. He lowered his head, looking like an innocent young man. Yi Qing Luo laughed out loud with a puff sound. Pei Sheng raised his head and saw the ridicule in Yi Qing Luo's eyes. He opened his mouth and wanted to reprimand Yi Qing Luo. But when words came to his mouth, he didn't know what to say. His mouth moved, but in the end he kept his mouth shut. His face turned even redder. "All right, I won't tease you anymore. Take good care of Zishi. She will either wake up today or tomorrow." Yi Qing Luo patted his shoulder and walked out of the room. Innocent young man shouldn't tease too much. He would take it seriously. Like Gu Zishi, lying unconscious on the bed. There was no way to feed her medicine or whatever. There was only one way. That was use mouth. The innocent Pei Sheng, in order to make Gu Zishi drink the medicine. He could only choose this method. So under Yi Qing Luo's teasing, his face turned so red. But this feeding of medicine or whatever had given these two young lovers a push. If she seized the opportunity, soon these two people would no longer be so bashful. Yi Qing Luo stretched her waist and walked to the treasure-gathering hall to check on the situation. In the hall, there were 3 citizens standing in front of the counter, asking about something. Those 3 were all women with decent looks. Looking at their dressing, they looked like the daughter of a rich family. Xiao Yinyan's lips curled into a smile. Those few women were talking about something. Seeing Yi Qing Luo coming out from the inner courtyard, Xiao Yinyan suddenly raised his hand and waved at her. "Ah Luo, these customers are here to look for you." "Customers? Look for her?" After she returned from the Qiao residence, she shut herself in the room to refine beauty ointment. There would be customers coming to look for her. Yiqing Luo blinked and walked over. Xiao Yinyan walked out from behind the counter and said to the three women, "The things you want were refined by this Miss D. Right now, the Treasures Exchange Hall really doesn't have any stock. If you want, you can ask Miss D." When those three ladies heard Xiao Yinyan's words, their gazes towards Yiqing Luo instantly changed from the enmity which the ladies had when facing a beauty to an earnest and fawning look. The speed at which his face changed was simply too fast. The three ladies were like pets who had seen their owner. Their eyes sparkled as they crowded towards Yiqing Luo. The scent of women's fragrant powder assaulted his nostrils. Yiqing Luo's hands were hugged by the lady. "Yiqing Luo, wait a minute. If you have something to say, then say it nicely. Why are you getting all touchy?" She didn't want the feeling of hugging beauties on both sides and leaning on beauties. Yiqing Luo asked Xiao Yinyan with her eyes, "What's going on?" Xiao Yinyan looked at the helpless young lady who was surrounded by ladies and couldn't help but moved his thin lips as he laughed softly. "They just want to find out from you about the effects of the beauty ointment and the price. They want to know if it's as miraculous as the rumors say." Rumors? She seemed like she hadn't started to promote the beauty ointment. Where did the rumors come from? Right. I heard that a few days ago, Boss Pei's sister took a bottle of beauty ointment and gave it to the Blood Mercenary Group's mercenaries to use. I heard from the mercenaries over at Blood Mercenary Group that as long as that beauty ointment is smeared on the face, the skin will become smooth and tender. Suddenly, an extremely arrogant voice came from the door. "How many beautifying creams does the Treasure Gathering Hall have? This Empress wants all of them." Following that, Xiao Yulu, who was dressed in a white veil and had a black veil over her face, walked into the Treasure Gathering Hall under the escort of her guards. At this moment, half of Xiao Yulu's face was covered by a black veil, revealing only her eyes and forehead. Yiqing Luo took a look. The skin above Xiao Yulu's forehead had already recovered, and it was fair and tender. Princess Yulu." The minute the three ladies saw Xiao Yulu, they immediately bowed respectfully. Xiao Yulu arrogantly raised her head, not even bothering to take a look at them as she spoke out arrogantly, "This beauty cream, this Empress wants all of it, all of you scram." The three ladies were stunned. "Princess Yulu, this." Chapter 36:26. The three women were so frightened that they took a step back. Their eyes were filled with reverence for Xiao Yulu. They lowered their heads and grabbed each other's hands, preparing to leave. Before they could even lift their feet, the three women were blocked by a slender figure. Yiqing Luo stood in front of the trio, separating them from Xiao Yulu. Yiqing Luo met Xiao Yulu's eyes with a smile which didn't look like a smile, as her smile was filled with ridicule. It's rare for mysterious maiden to come to the gathering of treasures, not to create trouble, but to do business. Cut the crap. Take out the beautifying cream. No matter how many crystal stones you want, I will give it to you. Xiao Yulu was rather infuriated by Yiqing Luo's glare. How could she not tell that Yiqing Luo was ridiculing her? However, he thought of the beautifying cream. In the end, Xiao Yulu swallowed her anger. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly. "I know Mysterious Fairy is rich and overbearing, not worried about crystal stones. What do you want?" Hearing the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words, Xiao Yulu frowned as she asked in displeasure. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved in a crescent as she smiled. "The beauty ointment is the auction item that we are going to present to the auction." Xiao Yulu's expression froze. "What do you mean?" Yiqing Luo smiled innocently. "It's exactly the literal meaning. Don't tell me Mysterious Maiden doesn't understand." Xiao Yulu's eyes were gloomy, and a wisp of killing intent flashed between her brows. His fingers under his sleeves were clenched into fists. In the face of this invisible pressure, Yi-Ching Luo expressed that she didn't feel anything. Mysterious fairy need not be anxious. The day after tomorrow is the auction. You. Xiao Yulu was furious. Her body trembled uncontrollably. This consort wants the beautifying cream right now. Give me the beautifying ointment, and I'll give you a higher price than the one at the auction. Yi-Ching Luo raised her finger as she shook it. Mysterious Maiden has personally used the beauty cream's effect, so she should be very clear about it. Adding on to the fact that there's the Blood Mercenary Group side who have personally experimented and promoted it. What do you think? If I were to put it up for auction, how high a price will my beauty cream fetch? Xiao Yulu's face darkened. When the three women behind him heard this, their hearts couldn't help but jump. Princess Yulu personally used the beautifying cream, and he still wanted to buy all the beautifying cream, and he didn't hesitate to spend a lot of crystal stones? Didn't this mean that the beautifying cream was really useful? Otherwise, why would Palace Master Yulu, who had a grudge with Treasure Gathering Palace, personally come to purchase the beauty cream? Hearing that Yi-Ching Luo was going to put up the beautifying cream at the auction, the thoughts of the three women became active again. If it was now. They certainly did not dare to fight with Xiao Yulu for the beauty cream. However, when it came to the auction, that was the auction. If you're worried about offending someone, you can also choose to bid anonymously. Yi-Ching Luo saw that the effect had been achieved and smiled at Xiao Yulu. Don't stare at me. This is after all a collaboration between me and Treasure Gathering. We've already reported it to the auction house, so there's no way to sell it to you privately. Xiao Yulu was just about to say that she would sell a bottle to her first, but upon hearing Yi-Ching Luo's words, these words were stuck in her throat. She gritted her teeth. How many bottles did Treasure Gathering report? It's very difficult to refine the beautifying ointment. These are my treasures that I've been keeping for a long time. Yi-Ching Luo said smilingly, I only have 10 bottles. 10 bottles. Xiao Yulu subconsciously touched her own face, as though she was considering whether 10 bottles of beautifying cream was able to restore her face completely. Chapter 36-27. How could Xiao Yulu not tell that Yi-Ching Luo was intentionally ridiculing her? If she really wanted the beauty balm, she would have to go to the hospital, which meant she had to use a high price to bid for the beauty cream at the auction. That meant that she would use her crystal stones to help the treasure house to get the honor of the best trading house. That meant that she would make herself lose the bet with Yi-Ching Luo. Xiao Yulu's face turned pale instantly. She clenched her fists tightly as she stared at Yi-Ching Luo with hatred. You did it on purpose? Xiao Yulu finally understood at this moment. Ever since she confirmed the efficacy of the beauty cream, she had been wondering why Di Luo would give it to her so easily. Not to mention, on account of Qiao Yinyan. If Di Luo really wasn't willing. Even if Qiao Yinyan knelt on the ground, Di Luo wouldn't be moved. However, Di Luo had easily taken out the skin beautifying ointment that day at the Qiao mansion. From that time onwards, Di Luo had planned everything. Di Luo had guessed correctly that she would take any risk for her face. So, she intentionally gave the beauty cream to her. After she tasted the sweetness, she made use of her to bid for the beauty cream at the auction. Because, looking at the entire without embroiling city, the person who needed the beauty cream the most was only her. And she had to have it. Di Luo wanted her to slap her own mouth, using her crystal stones to make her lose the bet between them. What a vicious scheme. Xiao Yulu's eyes turned red from the glare. Her venomous gaze was like a sharp thorn, piercing into Yi-Ching Luo's heart. Facing such a gaze, Yi-Ching Luo's expression was calm, without any change in her emotions. Instead, she met Xiao Yulu's gaze. Her pink lips curled upwards as she smiled sweetly. Oh, since you said I did it on purpose, then, when the auction is over, wouldn't it be better if Mysterious Maiden doesn't bid? Xiao Yulu was flustered. While she and Yi-Ching Luo had such a huge conflict, she even lowered herself to personally come to the treasure house to buy the beauty cream from Yi-Ching Luo. Yi-Ching Luo actually dared to rub her nose in, The angrier she got, the more anxious she became. The smile on Yi Qing Luo's face became even more radiant. Seeing mysterious maiden's determined look towards the facial beauty ointment, looks like the effect of the facial beauty ointment is really not bad at all. I hope that by then, the value of the facial beauty ointment will be able to go up another level in the auction. Xiao Yilu raised her finger and pointed at Yi Qing Luo with a trembling finger. Her chest heaved up and down, vibrating with force. She stared at Yi Qing Luo for some time before she pointed towards Yi Qing Luo's direction and pointed hard in the air. Good. Well done. Di Luo, this empress would like to see if you can deliver the beauty bomb to the auction master in one piece during the auction the day after tomorrow. Xiao Yilu spat out each word through gritted teeth. It was a powerful and majestic pressure. It kept on eroding Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as her long and narrow eyes rose upwards, staring at Xiao Yilu with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Xiao Yilu was about to leave, but she heard Yi Qing Luo giggling. "Ioyo, I'm so scared." Saying that, Yi Qing Luo walked towards Xiao Yinyan's direction. Eldest young master Qiao, is mysterious maiden considered to be threatening me? If something happens to me before the bet between us ends, can it be blamed on her? Chapter 36-28. TSK by then. There will be a lot of people paying attention to Mysterious Fairy. Yi Qing Luo's eyebrows curved into a smile, looking extremely lively and alluring. Using another method to become famous is not a bad idea. Xiao Yinyan's expression sunk slightly, his brows wrinkled tightly. His gaze was deep as he stared at Xiao Yilu. As without embroiling city's mysterious fairy, your every word and action represents without embroiling city. Since you want to make this bet with Aluo, then under the condition that Aluo doesn't violate the rules, you cannot use your own safety to threaten Aluo. Otherwise, no matter what happens to Aluo, as mysterious fairy, you have to bear the responsibility. Xiao Yilu's eyes were bloodshot. She snorted loudly and flung her sleeves down heavily. Turning around, she led the guards of the large sect and left the treasure-gathering hall. After the 10 over of them left the narrow hall, fresh air finally returned to the lobby of the treasures-gathering hall. Behind her, a lady's careful call was heard. Yi Qing Luo then remembered that there were 3 other ladies hiding behind her. She immediately moved away and turned around to look behind her. She saw one of the ladies staring at her without blinking. "Misty, you said you will put the beauty ointment in the auction. Is that true?" Yi Qing Luo nodded. "Of course it's true. But you saw Mysterious Fairy's attitude earlier. If she's not willing to give you the beauty ointment, I'm afraid you won't be able to bid for it." As the eldest daughter of the Qiao family, the #1 aristocratic family in the Earth Realm, so the mysterious fairy who came out from Linglong Palace, Xiao Yilu had no lack of crystal stones. To Xiao Yilu, as long as the problem could be solved with crystal stones, then it wasn't a problem. So as long as Xiao Yilu really wanted the beauty ointment, it was enough to exchange for 10 bottles of beauty ointment. The ladies looked at each other in dismay. Their expressions were a little ugly. Yi Qing Luo looked at them with a smile. "Thank you for your support for the beauty ointment. I heard that you have a bunch of sisters waiting for the news of the beauty ointment, right?" Yes. The young mistresses nodded. Yi Qing Luo pondered deeply for a moment and said, "How about this? After the auction ends, I'll strive to refine a few more bottles of beauty ointment, and by then we'll auction it off at the treasure-gathering hall. All of you can come and take part." The eyes of the ladies lit up. "Really?" Yi Qing Luo nodded with a smile. After discussing a few more sentences about the beautifying cream with the ladies, Yi Qing Luo sent them off. The treasures exchange hall fell into a rare moment of silence. Xiao Yinyan poured a cup of warm tea and passed it to Yi Qing Luo, telling Princess Yulu about the hidden card of the treasure gathering so early. "Aren't you worried that she will come up with some countermeasures to counter the beauty cream? On the contrary, I'm afraid that she won't target me." Yi Qing Luo smiled evilly. Xiao Yinyan raised an eyebrow. "Does that mean you already had a plan?" Yiqing Luo touched her chin. Although towards mysterious maiden, I don't understand her as well as you, but I'm very clear that she's not someone who can swallow her grievances. She had suffered quite a lot of grievances and suffered quite a lot from me. So how would she possibly let me take part in the auction smoothly? Don't tell me. She will really make a move on you before the auction? Xiao Yinyan's expression congealed. Chapter 36:29. What will she do? Xiao Yinyan asked in puzzlement. Why did it feel like Di Luo knew his sister better than him? Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and smiled meaningfully. No matter what she will do, I'm sure she will use a very stupid way to deal with the treasure exchange. Xiao Yinyan. Actually, it was not that Xiao Yulu was stupid, but Di Luo was too smart. But looking at Yiqing Luo's calm and composed look, she obviously had a plan in her heart. He didn't need to worry about her. As expected, everything was as Yiqing Luo had predicted. Xiao Yulu made her move. The beauty cream, under the publicity of the blood mercenary group, had been treated as a peerless treasure by countless young ladies. Furthermore, during the day at the treasures gathering exchange, the three young ladies had exaggerated the matters of the treasures gathering exchange to the group of young ladies. As a result, the group of young ladies yearned for the skin beautifying cream even more. If the beauty cream was really put up for auction, the price would absolutely be heaven-defying. It could be said that the treasure exchange hall could really use the beauty cream to fight a beautiful turnaround. So, Xiao Yulu wanted the beauty cream, but wasn't willing to lose the bet with Yiqing Luo. Then she could only let Yiqing Luo's beauty cream lose its luster before the auction. Hence, it took almost half a day's time, which was the afternoon after Xiao Yulu left the treasure exchange hall. The entire without embroiling city started to spread a rumor. The treasure-gathering trading company used the reputation of the bloody mercenary group to purposely promote the so-called beauty ointment. They wanted to exaggerate the effects of the beauty ointment before the auction to trick the citizens into bidding for the beauty ointment at a high price. This rumor didn't fly for long. Another rumor continued to spread. What? You want to ask why the treasure exchange hall did this? And even borrowed the reputation of the blood mercenary group to promote the beauty cream? Weren't they afraid that the blood mercenary group would blame them and directly destroy their treasure exchange hall? No. How could the treasure exchange hall be afraid? The treasure exchange hall did this entirely to obtain the honor of the best auction hall in the auction, because the lady named Di Luo, who took out the beauty cream, had a bet with Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden. She didn't want to lose, so she resorted to all means. Oh, you want to ask? What evidence is there to prove that the Treasures Exchange Hall is lying to the citizens? Because 5 years ago, the Treasures Exchange Hall had used the same method. You don't believe me? Ask any elderly citizen in Without Embroiling City, and they would all know what sort of infuriating incident had happened in the Treasure Exchange Hall that had been all the rage for a while 5 years ago. The more the rumors spread, the more exaggerated they became, and the harder it was to listen to them. In the end, it turned into a treasure-gathering transaction. They wanted to use the old tricks from 5 years ago to deceive the citizens and ignore the strict fairness of the auction. When these rumors and slanders reached Pei Sheng's ears, Pei Sheng was stunned. It all happened that night. At that time, Pei Sheng was going to the river to fetch water. She was stopped by a few women and asked about the beauty cream. Only then did she hear the news, especially when it involved what happened 5 years ago. Pei Sheng's expression changed immediately. He threw down the pole that was used to fetch water and rushed back to the treasure exchange hall. This action, it was also spread by some people. As a result, Pei Sheng flew into a rage out of humiliation and tacitly admitted the truth of the rumor. Chapter 36:30. Pei Sheng returned to treasure gathering. Yiqing Luo was by the counter, setting up some small items. Seeing that Pei Sheng had returned, she looked up and glanced at him. Didn't you go to fetch water for Zishi to wipe her body? Why did he come back empty-handed? Why do you look so pale? Have you heard the rumors that the citizens outside are discussing? Pei Sheng thought about how the citizens around him, who had been smiling at him in a friendly manner, were now pointing at him with looks of disgust and disgust. Anger surged in his heart. I heard. Yi Qing Luo's expression was indifferent. Do you mind? Of course I care. Pei Sheng clenched his fists. 5 years ago, it was clearly the Zhong Chang trading house that framed Gathering Bao and the trading house. Gathering Bao has never lied to anyone. It's useless for you to say these words to me. Yi Qing Luo put down the item in her hands as she looked at him calmly. Of course, even if you run out to explain to anyone, it's useless. Pei Sheng's anxiety and Yi Qing Luo's calmness formed a sharp contrast. Facing Yi Qing Luo's calm and indifferent attitude, Pei Sheng's clenched fists loosened, but he couldn't help but clench them again. He repeated this a few times. His entire person seemed to lose all strength, and he slumped down in dejection. Aluo. Treasure conglomeration has finally taken a turn for the better with great difficulty. The day after tomorrow is the grand auction, but now there's such a rumor. It was not just Treasure Gathering's reputation that was tarnished. Most importantly, Aluo will lose the bet. If he really handed Aluo over to Princess Yulu and let her do whatever she wanted with him, Princess Yulu would never let Aluo leave alive. I'm sorry, Aluo. It's all because of me. It's all because of my incompetence. Pei Sheng sat down on the chair weakly, covering his face with his hands. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips as she looked at Pei Sheng quietly for some time before she spoke out calmly. This isn't your fault. The person Xiao Yulu is targeting is me. She paused and walked out from behind the counter. However, you're right about one thing. Ah Sheng, you are indeed incompetent. Her straightforwardness caused Pei Sheng's body to stiffen. Yi Qing Luo continued. If you really want to protect the Treasures Exchange Hall, if you really want to protect Zishi, then you should straighten your back and not be at a loss of what to do the minute something happens, blaming yourself in various ways, then not doing anything at all, just immersing yourself in your decadent emotions. Pei Sheng's hand slowly slid down from his face. His handsome face was filled with pain. His eyes were also a little red. Yi Qing Luo walked to his side. Her gaze was still as calm as usual. Ah Sheng, you must remember that you are a man with an indomitable spirit. You must use your own 2 hands to create unlimited possibilities. So what if Xiao Yulu spreads rumors? So what if they damage the reputation of the Treasures Trading House? Don't tell me that if you continue to wallow in self-pity, the problem will be solved? Yi Qing Luo's successive explosive strikes made Pei Sheng's entire person stunned till he turned stiff. He looked at Yi Qing Luo in a daze. Following Yi Qing Luo's words, his reddened eyes started to change. His stiff body slowly moved. A pair of pure black bright eyes seemed to be filled with starlight. He clenched his fists as he stood up abruptly. Aluo, I'm sorry. I know. Looking at the man straightened his back. His tall figure appeared extremely skinny. Yi Qing Luo sighed softly. The reason why Pei Sheng's character was weak. It was also because of the environment. Chapter 36-31. He had grown up in the trading house since young. He personally witnessed the changes in the trading house. He personally witnessed his own kin drowning themselves in the river. And after taking over the trading house, he became the target of exclusion by the entire city. This had a huge impact on Pei Sheng. What Yi Qing Luo needed to do was to change him from the bottom of his heart, from the fact that Pei Sheng wasn't affected by the Spirit Devourer formation. Pei Sheng must have some secret on him. If Pei Sheng could dig it out, this would be a good step forward for his future. What should I do? Pei Sheng regained his spirits as he looked at Yi Qing Luo. After the auction is over, I will have to leave without embroiling city. Ah Sheng, I can't help you with everything. Yi Qing Luo patted his shoulder. Pei Sheng was stunned. He wanted to ask Yi Qing Luo to stay, but he was very clear in his heart. Yi Qing Luo absolutely could not stay in without embroiling city. She still had to look for her fiancé. Pei Sheng took a deep breath and calmed his thoughts. There's still one more day before the auction. We have to change everyone's opinion of treasure gathering by tomorrow. Especially, we have to make the citizens believe in the effects of the beauty ointment again. Yi Qing Luo nodded. What do you intend to do? Seeing that Yi Qing Luo had acknowledged what he said, Pei Sheng's apprehensive heart relaxed. Do you have any extra beauty cream? There's still one bottle. That was refined previously to be used for publicity. Pei Sheng said, Tomorrow, I will use the topic of Treasure Gathering Hall to explain the rumors and invite the citizens to the Treasure Gathering Hall. Later I'll go find out that the ugly lady in Without Embroiling City will come over to test the effect of the beauty cream in public. This was equivalent to holding a press conference in the modern society. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled slightly, apparently very satisfied with Pei Sheng's suggestion. Seeing Yi Qing Luo smile, Pei Sheng's tensed body then relaxed as he asked apprehensively, Luo, is it all right if I do this? His cautious look was like a student who was nervous and perturbed in front of the headmaster. Yi Qing Luo nodded with a face full of smiles. No problem. Let's do this. Pei Sheng's tensed face also relaxed. He thought of a way to deal with it. Pei Sheng went to handle this matter. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to interfere in this matter. After Pei Sheng left, sitting by the side, the sloppy old Lai then looked at Yi Qing Luo. You had long guessed that Xiao Yulu would use this method to target you? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. You can say so. After all, this was the best solution. As long as it involved the incident from 5 years ago, not only would it make the citizens lose their yearning for the beauty cream, but it would also smear Zhu Bao's name and make it unable to raise its head. Judging from your conversation with that kid, you're going to leave Without Embroiling City after the auction? Old Lai stroked his messy beard. Are you going to look for His Majesty the Sovereign? When Di Zun was mentioned, Old Lai intentionally widened his eyes, staring intently at Yi Qing Luo's expression. The last time Yi Qing Luo returned from the West Cliff Mountain, for some reason, he was in low spirits. He guessed that it might have something to do with Di Zun. Now, he was here to test the waters. However, to Old Lai's disappointment, Chapter 36-32 Shadowless City isn't like Without Embroiling City. Old Lai retracted his gaze and leaned back in his chair. If you go to Shadowless City without me, you might not even be able to enter the city gates. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. Shadowless City is so cruel. Old Lai nodded seriously. You'll know when you get there. I'm absolutely not exaggerating. Yi Qing Luo glanced at the serious Old Lai and rolled her eyes. Just say it if you want to follow me to Shadowless City. All right, I want to follow you to Shadowless City. Old Lai continued to put on a serious face. Yi Qing Luo. So direct. Then let's go together. In this unfamiliar place, with a madman from the Hell Palace by her side, at least she wouldn't provoke any retards who came to make their presence known. She only wanted to go to Shadowless City to see DMO Xian, to confirm his physical condition. She really couldn't be bothered with other retards who came to find trouble. Most importantly, since the leader of the bloody mercenaries mentioned that she had never seen her in the Earth Realm, Yi Qing Luo felt that she had to create an identity in the Earth Realm. Otherwise, if someone found out that she wasn't from the Earth Realm, she didn't have the qualification to ascend to the Earth Realm to prove that she was a cultivator from the lower realm. It would be easy for others to suspect her background. The next morning, the news of the press conference held by the Treasure Exchange Hall. Oh no, the Treasure Exchange Hall hosting the citizens of Without Embroiling City to explain the beauty ointment matter spread throughout the streets and alleys of Without Embroiling City. This popularity, compared to the publicity of the beauty ointment by the bloody mercenaries, the popularity created was several times more. Previously, only a bunch of ladies knew about the beauty ointment. But now, after Xiao Yulu's actions, basically, as long as one was in Without Embroiling City, they all knew about the beauty ointment and the Treasure Exchange Hall. The next day, everyone's topic was beauty ointment, Treasure Exchange Hall, etc. Listening to the streets and alleys from 80 old people to 5-year-old children were discussing these topics. Even those who came to Without Embroiling City to participate in the auction were attracted by this topic. Xiao Yulu stood in the crowd. Her face under the black veil was very ugly. She suddenly felt that she had just shot herself in the foot. Why did it seem like it was helping treasure gathering and facial beautifying ointment set off a wave of popularity? Is the beautifying cream really that magical? With just a touch, your skin will become smooth and supple, without pimples or spots. I don't think that's possible. Didn't you say that Zhu Bao wanted to use the strategy from 5 years ago to deliberately make the skin beautifying cream look so magical to trick us into bidding at a high price? How can it be such a magical thing in this world? This is definitely just a publicity stunt. Treasure Gathering wants to give an explanation for the skin beautifying ointment. Why are we guessing here? Why don't we go and take a look? Let's go and see how Treasure Gathering Guild is going to explain itself. The citizens swarmed towards the direction of the treasure exchange hall. Among the crowd, Xiao Yulu's face was dark. Her eyes were vicious like a venomous snake. Go, let's go over and take a look. This empress wants to see how Treasure Gathering can resolve the matter regarding the beautifying ointment. She spat out these words through gritted teeth, her tone extremely cold. At the entrance of the treasure's trading house. At this moment, the 3 inner and 3 outer layers were filled with people. Chapter 36-33. At the main entrance of the treasure exchange hall, Yiqing Luo specially used bamboo poles to form a square with the treasure exchange hall's entrance as the distance. Within the boundary of the bamboo poles, there was a table and 2 chairs. The citizens stood outside the boundary of the bamboo poles and were not allowed to get close to it. Of course, when this bunch of citizens went crazy, they totally wouldn't care about the bamboo poles or not. So Yiqing Luo specially placed a chair at the corner of the bamboo poles. Lao Lai just sat there like a thorn in his flesh. With old Lai watching, the citizens were obviously more well-behaved. Originally, they were still talking about yesterday's rumors, but they were all stuck in their throats. They were afraid that if they angered the Hell Palace's senior, they would be dealt with. The appointed time came. The treasure exchange's door opened. Pei Sheng walked out from the treasure exchange. Following closely behind was Yiqing Luo and Xiao Yinyan. The 3 of them walked to the table and stood still. Pei Sheng started to speak. The rough content was that yesterday, the Blood Mercenary group used the beauty cream and felt that it was useful, so they praised it. But when some people heard it, they were afraid that it would affect their own benefits, so they intentionally spread rumors, trying to ruin the beauty cream and treasure exchange's reputation. Of course, Pei Sheng's words were very tactful, and he didn't clearly mention who the people with intentions was referring to. But the surrounding citizens, from his words, were able to clearly match that people with intentions with Xiao Yulu. Without embroiling city's mysterious maiden. Of course, everyone was well aware of it. But the other party was, after all, without embroiling city's mysterious maiden, so no one dared to say her name. At this time, there would naturally be different voices. For example, there's no smoke without fire. Why are you saying it's a rumor? Don't tell me the beauty cream really has such a shocking effect. For example, don't say anything about ruining the treasure exchange's reputation. Ever since 5 years ago, when the treasure exchange cheated its customers, it no longer has any so-called reputation. And so on and so on. After Pei Sheng was awakened by Yiqing Luo last night, now that he heard these words, his heart more or less calmed down. It wasn't like yesterday, surging with anger, feeling aggrieved and unresigned. Pei Sheng was very calm. He waited for everyone to stop asking questions before he said, "No matter what I say, it won't be as real as what everyone saw with their own eyes." He paused, and his gaze swept across the citizens. "I invited all of you here today to settle the matter regarding the beautifying cream and to give everyone an explanation. Therefore, Zhu Bao specially took out a bottle of beautifying cream to test the effects of the beautifying cream in public. Try it for free." His last 4 words were enunciated very clearly. The crowd was instantly in an uproar. when Pei Sheng received an exquisite wooden box from Yi Qing Luo's hands. Everyone quietened down as they stared at Pei Sheng's hands. Pei Sheng placed the wooden box on the table and slowly opened the lid. Every single one of his movements was deliberately slow, filled with a mysterious aura. When the transparent, jade-like medicine bottle was carefully taken out, everyone saw the pink ointment, which seemed to be plated with fluorescent light. The crowd was in an uproar again. "This is the beautifying ointment." Pei Sheng held the beautifying ointment in his hand, and his voice became solemn. "Gathering Treasures has already submitted the beautifying ointment to the auction, and the base price is 500,000 crystal stones." After the base price was announced, the citizens' expressions were filled with astonishment and disbelief. A bottle of ointment cost 500,000 crystal stones. Chapter 36-34. One must know, such as beauty cream or rouge powder and so on. The quality was slightly better. Some of them had miraculous effects. At most 1,000 crystal stones was the maximum. Treasure Gathering actually opened 500,000 crystal stones? Who would go to bid for this? Only an idiot would bid for it. So in order to let everyone witness the effect of the beauty ointment, whether it's real or fake, and whether it has such a miraculous effect, it's equivalent to Treasure Gathering using 500,000 crystal stones to prove its name. Pei Sheng seemed as though he didn't hear what the citizens were discussing, as though he didn't see the citizens' astonished and ridiculing expressions. He continued talking on his own. His tone was filled with pride, as though he had really taken out 500,000 crystal stones to prove Treasure Gathering's name. The citizens looked as though they were looking at an idiot. What 500,000 crystal stones? That's only worth 500,000 crystal stones if someone is willing to bid for it, all right. Yi Qing Luo saw that the atmosphere was just right. The citizens were all doubting Pei Sheng's words. Yi Qing Luo coughed lightly as she smiled lightly. "Let's not talk too much. Directly use actions to prove the effect of the beauty ointment. Now, may eldest young Master Qiao please invite our first test customer." When Xiao Yinyan heard that, he turned around and walked into Treasure Gathering. Not long later, he supported a petite figure who was covered in a cloak as he walked over. Xiao Yinyan helped the lady to sit on the chair. Yi Qing Luo walked to the lady's side as her slender fingers placed on the edge of the cloak as she spoke with a smile, in order to prevent others from saying that these test customers are intentionally bribed by us Treasure Gathering, intentionally faking it. So, the guests we invite are those whom everyone has more or less heard of and know of. Her words fell. Yi Qing Luo suddenly lifted the black cloak which was covering the lady's face. Everyone's gazes congealed on the lady's face. When they saw the lady's face, which was filled with scars, pitted and terrifying, they couldn't help but drew in a breath of cold air. Her face was filled with scars, and there wasn't a single part which was unscathed. The lady was stared at by everyone's eyes. She had been used to feeling inferior for a long time, and, at this moment, her face was burning as she couldn't sit still. Yi Qing Luo didn't want the lady to expose her shortcomings. When she found this lady, the woman already knew that she would be the target of everyone's gazes. That face of hers couldn't be any worse than that. He wanted to restore his appearance and change his face. The woman gritted her teeth and agreed to Pei Sheng's request. He openly exposed his face in front of everyone's eyes. This young lady is the daughter of old Tofu Lu from the neighboring street. Due to an accident when she was young, her face was burned. Yi Qing Luo introduced. I believe the neighbors on the neighboring street should be very familiar with this young lady. It wasn't just the neighbors who knew each other. Many citizens of Without Embroiling City knew that old Lu's Tofu family's daughter had her face burned. Due to the disfigurement of his face, he was already 19 years old this year and had yet to be betrothed. She was an old lady who basically couldn't get married. He was sure that this woman was not lying. Pei Sheng opened the bottle cap of the beautifying ointment and said to the woman, "Open your palm." The woman obeyed and opened her hands. Pei Sheng carefully poured out a small ball of pink ointment and smeared it on the woman's palm. Now, apply this ointment to your face. The woman looked at the ointment in her hand. It smelled very fresh and not pungent. She slowly smeared the ointment on her palm on her face. It was just a small ball. Chapter 36-35. When the lady stopped moving, leaned against the chair, and closed her eyes, Yiqing Luo asked with a smile, "How do you feel now?" The lady remained silent for a moment, very cold and a little itchy. "Can you resist not scratching?" Yiqing Luo continued to ask. "Yes." The lady took a deep breath, her nails clenched into a ball. "As long as my face is like a normal person, I can bear it. It's all right. Hold on until your face is itchy, or when you can't stand the cold, you can tell me." Yiqing Luo comforted her gently. The lady replied with an "in." Everyone's attention was focused on the lady's face. The lady sat stiffly on the chair, eyes closed, her body tensed up. After applying the beauty cream, there was no change at all. About the time it took to burn a stick of incense had passed. The citizen's patience was exhausted. Especially the lady's burnt and pitted face, there was no change at all. Suddenly, they felt that they had been played. As time went by, the dissatisfied discussions among the citizens grew louder. Some even said that the treasure gathering was lying. If it wasn't for old Lai, that big Buddha, sitting there sloppily, some of the ill-tempered citizens would have directly overturned the tables and chairs. However, no matter how the surrounding citizens discussed and ridiculed, Yiqing Luo and the rest were all calm, their gazes fixed on the lady's face. Yiqing Luo would occasionally ask the lady how she felt. Just as some citizens' legs were aching from standing and didn't want to waste any more time among the crowd, a voice suddenly rang. "Lu Tofu's daughter. Her body keeps trembling. Is she going to kill someone?" This was like a stone that stirred up 1,000 ripples. The impatient mood of the citizens was immediately affected by the gossiping. "What? Human life? Right, look. That lady's body keeps trembling. It's obviously not normal. Gathering treasures. Hurry up and wipe off the stuff on her face. You're asking for her life. Sure enough, we can't have any hopes for the treasure gathering. Everything is fake. They only know how to lie to their customers. And now they're trying to kill someone. Go report to the authorities. We must not let these unscrupulous businessmen taint our without embroiling city." After one person took the lead, all the rhythm was brought over by those words. For a moment, more than half of the thousands of people surrounding them were clamoring to report the incident to the authorities. No matter how much Pei Sheng's mentality had changed, he still couldn't help it. Faced with such a situation, he was more or less panicking. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at Pei Sheng, indicating him not to worry. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he glanced in the direction of the rhythm of talking about human lives. Coincidentally, he saw Xiao Yulu, who was wearing a white veil and a black veil over her face. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. As expected, Xiao Yulu came as well. Those words must have come from Xiao Yulu's bodyguard, right? The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. He was afraid that Xiao Yulu would be disappointed again. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change in the slightest when she was facing everyone's accusations. She leaned over and whispered in the woman's ear, "Is it too cold and itchy? You can't stand it anymore?" The woman's voice trembled as she said, If I hold on a little longer, will I be able to recover better?" Chapter 36-36. Yiqing Luo paused and continued. "Although the longer you use the beauty cream, the better it will be for your face. But if you force yourself to endure it, there will be some effects." The lady's hand clenched tightly. She had been restraining herself from scratching her face. She remained silent for a while, probably because she heard Yiqing Luo's words, or probably because she couldn't hold it in any longer. She said in a trembling voice, I can't take it anymore." Yiqing Luo held the lady's hand and looked sideways at Xiao Yinyan. "Please help me get a basin of water, in order to avoid getting into trouble." Yiqing Luo specially asked Pei Sheng to bring a basin of water by the side. Xiao Yinyan took the basin and scooped a basin of water over. Yiqing Luo supported the lady and touched the basin. Now, wash your face with water. The lady obeyed and bent over to wash her face. While washing, the lady's body started to tremble even more. The crowd who had stopped the clamoring and discussion because of the lady washing her face started to clamor again, that the lady's life was in danger and so on. The lady washed her face and slowly raised her head from the basin. Her wet hair stuck to both her cheeks. The lady covered her face with both her hands, her fingers trembling slightly. Seeing the lady raise her head, those clamoring people quietened down and stared straight at the lady's face. Yiqing Luo's lips curled. Her long and narrow eyes gave a faint arc. Take your hand down. Let everyone see your face. The lady's trembling hands moved away from her face bit by bit. At that moment, the surrounding people burst into an uproar. Her face! Heavens! How is this possible? How did her face really recover? Is this really the same person as the ugly girl just now? I don't believe it. The citizens were astonished. One by one, they widened their eyes, looking at the lady's face in disbelief. The lady stood in front of the table and chair. There was still water on her face, slowly sliding down. Her face, which was originally full of scars, was filled with scars. At this moment, she had completely recovered the face that a lady should have. Her facial features were regular, her skin fair and delicate, although there were still some faint scars on her face. But those are not too obvious. In short, after the potholes of rotten flesh on his face were removed, he turned around. The woman became much more beautiful and charming. The citizens couldn't believe their eyes. Especially, they had witnessed with their own eyes. The woman with such a terrifying face had regained her smooth and tender skin. He had personally witnessed the process of an ugly girl becoming a beauty. Yiqing Luo placed the bronze mirror in the lady's hands as she smiled and looked towards the crowd. I know that you must have some suspicions in your hearts. How about this? Chapter 36-37. Xiao Yulu's eyes were gloomy like a sharp blade as she stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo didn't seem to notice her steely expression as she smiled even more brilliantly. Mysterious maiden, what do you think? The hearts of the onlookers were thumping nonstop. They were very clear. The grudge between Bao and Princess Yulu. And they were very clear about the bet regarding the auction, especially when the citizens were well aware of it. Yesterday's gossip was related to Princess Yulu. Now, Di Luo directly asked Princess Yulu to check on that lady's face, to see if it was real or fake, to check the authenticity of the beauty ointment. This meant that Di Luo had full confidence in the facial beauty ointment. As long as Princess Yulu confirmed that the lady's face had really recovered to normal skin. The efficacy of the beauty ointment was absolutely not fake. Under the hopeful gazes of the citizens, Xiao Yulu clenched her fists tightly as she walked out slowly under the escort of her guards. She raised her head slightly with an arrogant look as her voice was slightly cold. How do you want me to check? Yiqing Luo smiled as she shook her head. Mysterious maiden, don't be anxious. We still need to find another one. Her gaze took a look at the crowd. She walked directly towards the front of the crowd, toward the plain-looking man who was about 40 years old. Uncle Lu, can I trouble you to personally check on your daughter's face? The citizens recognized him. That plain-looking man was Old Tofu Lu, who sold tofu on the neighboring street. Old Tofu Lu's eyes stared intently at his daughter's face as his eyes were filled with agitation. Under Yiqing Luo's support, he trembled as he walked to the front of the lady. Old Tofu Lu first touched the lady's face. His action was obviously very light and careful, as though he was testing. He was afraid that if he was not careful, he would ruin his daughter's face, which had finally recovered. Under Yiqing Luo's guidance, Old Tofu Lu's strength increased slightly. In the end, he confirmed that his daughter's face had indeed recovered to normal. Even the ordinary pinching and rubbing had the feeling of normal skin. Old Tofu Lu was so agitated that tears fell down on the spot, looking at the father and daughter pair crying together. Everyone's hearts had more or less believed in the beauty ointment's efficacy. Yiqing Luo smiled as she looked at Xiao Yulu. Mysterious maiden can also touch Miss Lu's face personally. Xiao Yulu's face darkened. She was the one who had personally used the facial cream. The beauty cream could even restore her face, which had already been corroded. Not to mention an ordinary burn. Di Luo had purposely asked her to come out at this time to check if it was real. It was obvious that he was deliberately making things difficult for her. Chapter 36-39. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. Looked like she had guessed correctly. No wonder she felt something was amiss the minute she saw Kai Dai. Kai Dai's face had an obvious scar as she curled up beside Xiao Yulu, without the fox exploiting the tiger's might earlier. Xiao Yulu was indeed quite ruthless. Towards her personal maid who had taken care of her for so many years, she could be so ruthless. Yiqing Luo clicked her tongue as she gave a helpless sigh. A bottle of beauty ointment was originally meant for you alone. Sigh. What a pity. Hearing Yiqing Luo's ambiguous tone, Xiao Yulu's heart felt as though something was exploding in her chest. Her gaze turned increasingly vicious, like a sharp blade, as though she wanted to dismember Yiqing Luo into 1,000 pieces. However, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change at all. Instead, she met her vengeful gaze. As though the angrier she got, the angrier she got. Yiqing Luo's smile became even more radiant and joyous. A face which is corroded by the demonic qi is not something that can be solved by a bottle of beauty ointment. It needs to be used continuously for at least 3 days and cannot be interrupted. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she pretended to speak carelessly. Originally, that bottle of beauty ointment was enough for you to use for 3 days. Alas, you don't believe me. She shrugged her shoulders as she gave a helpless sigh. Not using it for 3 days and interrupting the beauty ointment midway. Your face is even more troublesome. If I didn't guess wrongly, the skin on your face is starting to fester again, right? Xiao Yulu's pupils constricted. Yiqing Luo, who noticed the small details, her pink lips curled into a deep smile. Aya, mysterious maiden, what should you do? Is your face more important, or is it more important? This is really a difficult choice. Xiao Yulu was so infuriated that she wanted to vomit blood. How would she not understand the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words? Di Luo, don't be complacent too early. She gritted her teeth as she spat out these few words, flicked her sleeves, and turned around to leave. The group of guard behind him immediately followed suit. Yiqing Luo waved towards the direction where Xiao Yulu left. Mysterious maiden, remember to come to tomorrow's auction. I'll be waiting for your good news. Xiao Yulu almost staggered when Xiao Yulu's figure completely disappeared on both sides of the street. Only then did the citizens dare to speak. Why did Princess Yulu leave without saying anything? Aren't you going to check the face of old Lu's Tofu's daughter? What does Princess Yulu mean by this? The conversation between Xiao Yulu and Yiqing Luo. Other than those words, which Yiqing Luo intentionally let the surrounding citizens hear. As for the other words, Yiqing Luo intentionally suppressed her voice. Xiao Yulu left angrily. Everyone was curious. What did Di Luo say to make Princess Yulu leave in anger? Chapter 36-40. Everyone in Without Embroiling City knew. The day Princess Yulu returned to Without Embroiling City, she started a feud with a woman called Di Luo. The two of them even made a life and death bet because of the treasure-gathering exchange. Moreover, there was the matter of treasure-gathering being smeared by a series of rumors and slanders yesterday. It was obviously Princess Yulu's doing. If the beauty ointment was fake, if the father-daughter duo colluded with the treasure-gathering exchange to put on a show, Princess Yulu would definitely take this opportunity to make things difficult for them. So, the beauty ointment of the treasure-gathering exchange was definitely authentic. Especially when Princess Yulu personally asked for the beauty ointment, it was definitely true. As a result, the citizens were looking forward to the beauty ointment even more. There were even people who booked future beauty ointment with the treasure-gathering exchange. The rumors that smeared the treasure-gathering exchange seemed to be unable to extinguish the citizens' yearning for the beauty ointment. When Xiao Yulu heard the news about the beauty ointment, she was so angry that she vomited blood on the spot. She was so angry that she vomited blood. She originally wanted to use the rumors to smear the treasure-gathering exchange and make Di Luo's plan fail. But unexpectedly, she spent a lot of manpower, material resources, and financial resources to smear the treasure-gathering exchange. Instead, it helped the treasure-gathering exchange. Instead, it made the beauty ointment even more legendary. In addition, she humbly asked the leader of the bloody mercenaries, Su Qingbing, to personally come forward and accuse the treasure-gathering exchange of using Bloody's fame for its own benefit, and that the beauty ointment was fake. But Su Qingbing did not take her, the mysterious lady, seriously at all. She directly rejected her proposal. Unfortunately, she was just a mysterious lady who had just become without embroiling city. She had no way to order or threaten Bloody. She could only return in disappointment. He didn't expect that, just after she left the treasure-gathering exchange. The leader of the bloody mercenaries, Su Qingbing, personally led the mercenaries to the entrance of the treasure-gathering exchange. She personally admitted the effect of the beauty ointment. This was a clear slap in her face. It could be said that after the series of things that happened today, the beauty ointment's value would increase by several times. The value of the beauty ointment would increase by several times. Xiao Yulu really vomited blood. If this continued, it was very likely that treasure-gathering auction would win the honor of the best auction house. She must think of a way to let Zhongcheng Exchange's limelight surpass that of treasure-gathering before the auction tomorrow. But these thoughts, Xiao Yulu didn't have time to implement it. Chapter 36:41. Xiao Yinan nodded. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Even if Master Qiao doesn't make a move, she will definitely bid for it. The reason for that was because no woman would be able to tolerate any problems with her face, especially for a lady like Xiao Yulu who valued looks the most. Even if Xiao Yulu wasn't willing to lose the bet, she wasn't willing to let Yiqing Luo be complacent. Xiao Yulu would definitely bid for the beautifying cream. But Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly turned grave. She shouldn't compromise so easily. Even if she has no time to deal with the treasure gathering, she should put her thoughts on the Zhongcheng Exchange Hall. She paused and suddenly raised her head. I suggest that you guard the door of her room tonight. Qiao Yinyan was stunned and immediately understood something as his expression congealed. What you mean is there's a possibility that she will contact that group of people who set up the soul-devouring array. Those people's target might be me. If Mysterious Maiden wants to target me, those people will naturally make use of Mysterious Maiden to deal with me. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. If those people help Mysterious Maiden, not to mention whether Mysterious Maiden can win the bet with me, the most important thing is it will definitely affect the Qiao family. Yiqing Luo didn't wish for the Qiao family to be implicated because of Xiao Yulu's mistake. Qiao Yinyan's expression turned grave. Only dare to hide in the dark and use a borrowed knife to kill a rat. Dare to make use of our Qiao family. I will explain this matter to father and send more people to watch over Princess Yulu to prevent Palace Mistress Yulu from contacting those people. Yiqing Luo curled her lips at him. You don't have to be too nervous. Perhaps I'm thinking too much. Just in case, we still need to pay attention. To be able to create a sinister array with a formation core spirit in the West Cliff Mountain, the other party's ability was definitely not weak. But why didn't they dare to show themselves? Instead, they used this method to hide in the dark and pay attention to them. This made one have no choice but to guard against them. Xiao Yinyan stood up with a heavy expression as he prepared to leave the treasure-gathering exchange hall. Looking at Xiao Yinyan's back view, Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she suddenly said, "Yinyan, it seems. You've never asked why." Xiao Yinyan stopped in his tracks. After a moment of silence, he turned around. Yiqing Luo met his gaze and spoke out softly. "You should be able to guess that those people's identities and abilities aren't weak. Aren't you curious why they would target me when I'm just an ordinary person?" It seemed like ever since she met Xiao Yinyan, no matter what happened to her, Xiao Yinyan was not curious even once. If it was her, she would definitely be suspicious. It was just like, after she saw that Pei Sheng was not affected by the soul-devouring array, she had some speculations about Pei Sheng. However, Xiao Yinyan had never been surprised by what had happened to her. A warm smile slowly appeared on Xiao Yinyan's handsome face. It made her elegant face look even more ethereal. His thin lips moved, and he said word by word with a smile, "When you are willing to speak, I will listen. In short, I believe you." Yiqing Luo was stunned. Xiao Yinyan had an inexplicable good impression of her, and a few times of unconditional help. She really couldn't understand Xiao Yinyan's feelings for her. If she said that Xiao Yinyan liked her, but to tell the truth, she really didn't feel that Xiao Yinyan liked her. If she said that he didn't, Chapter 3642. Yiqing Luo sighed. You can't guess a man's thoughts. No matter how you guessed, you wouldn't be able to guess. Then we'll talk about it when I feel like it. Yiqing Luo waved her hand weakly at him. Go keep an eye on your sister. I'll go take a look at Zishi's situation. Forget it, it's better not to ask. If she continued asking, perhaps Xiao Yinyan would flirt with her again. She couldn't possibly ask directly, "Hey, do you like me?" "Don't like me, I have a fiancé." If she really said that, when they meet again, wouldn't it be awkward to death? Most importantly, she wasn't sure. Was Xiao Yinyan's feeling towards her the kind of love between a man and a woman? Xiao Yinyan returned to the Qiao residence and explained to Patriarch Qiao about the black-robed men. Patriarch Qiao was extremely shocked, but he believed that his son wouldn't lie. So he secretly sent the secret guards to guard Xiao Yulu's door tightly. Nothing happened that night. Only, the Qiao family didn't know. Xiao Yulu was in a flustered and exasperated state, using a pen to poke the paper which was filled with Di Luo's name, cursing Di Luo venomously. When a light breeze blew past, her eyes suddenly turned blurry and she laid sprawled on the table, unconscious. From a secret guard's point of view, Xiao Yulu seemed to be tired of cursing and laid on the table to rest. The current Xiao Yulu's consciousness had fallen into a temporary darkness. When it was bright again, that red-robed young lady with a white veil appeared in front of her, smiling sweetly as she looked at her with ridicule. That young lady was like a high and mighty queen, looking down on everything. His mouth continued to say humiliating words to her. Xiao Yulu stared at the young lady in front of her as her pupils contracted. Indescribable hatred and anger filled her chest. Finally, under the young lady's contemptuous smile, Xiao Yulu let out an angry howl. Her fists clenched tightly as she punched towards the young lady's face. Bam! The young lady was punched onto the ground. However, that radiant and enchanting face was still sneering at him. Xiao Yulu's eyes were bloodshot as she pounced forward, beating and tearing the young lady. Once and again and again. It wasn't until the young girl's body was completely unrecognizable that she stopped, panting heavily. Did you vent your anger? Suddenly, an ethereal voice sounded in the surroundings. It was as if it was ringing in his ears. Xiao Yulu straightened her back in shock and quickly looked around. If you think that's the best way to vent your anger, I can help you make the real Imperial Fall look like this. That voice seemed to be filled with bewitchment. Who are you? Who is it? Xiao Yilu looked around cautiously. The Empyrean fairy is really forgetful. Didn't we just cooperate a few days ago? The voice laughed in a low voice. Xiao Yilu's eyes narrowed as rage filled her face. It's you guys? The ones who created the soul-devouring array. How dare you appear in front of this empress? She stood up angrily, her eyes burning with anger. Because of that so-called formation, her face had almost been swallowed by the formation, causing her to be disfigured. This group of people had deceived her. They said that she would help to lure Imperial Fall to West Cliff Mountain so that she would have the chance to kill Yi Qing Luo personally. She had not expected that she almost became the array's food. This group of people totally didn't want to help her sincerely. Chapter 36:43. In the face of Xiao Yulu's anger, the voice chuckled in a low voice. The laughter was sinister and cold. Xiao Yulu was so infuriated that her chest heaved up and down as her eyes turned red. What are you laughing at? Why must mysterious maiden be angry? Haven't we agreed right from the start that we are only making a deal? That voice said calmly, I'll help you lure that woman into the West Cliff Mountain. Whether you can kill her or not will depend on your own ability. That voice paused for a moment as its tone was filled with ridicule and ridicule. Your ability is not up to par. Don't tell me you blame us. You. Xiao Yulu's face flushed red as she gritted her teeth and roared. You're obviously the one who lied to me. Didn't you tell me that that's the soul-devouring array? If it wasn't for the fact that I have the protective talisman, which Ling Long Palace Lord had passed to me, I would have died in that array. Her face, which was as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as a fairy, would not have turned into such a state. She wouldn't lower herself to get the beauty cream from Yi Qing Luo's hands. All of this was because of this group of people. They actually dared to appear, and even wanted to make use of her. That voice laughed sinisterly. Oh, really? Even if we tell you that's the soul-devouring array, will you really give up the only chance to kill that woman personally and not step into the soul-devouring array? Not waiting for Xiao Yulu to reply, that voice continued to laugh. No, you will. Xiao Yulu's mouth moved, but ultimately she couldn't say any words of rebuttal. Yes, she would. Even if she knew it was the soul-devouring array, she would still enter the array. So what's the point of saying it or not? Anyway, it won't affect your decision, right? The voice chuckled again. Xiao Yulu's brows creased tightly as she felt that something was amiss. But she felt that what that voice said seemed to make sense. Not waiting for Xiao Yulu to think carefully, that voice rang again. I have a deal here. Do you want to do it? Xiao Yulu pursed her lips as she hesitantly scanned the surroundings. It was a patch of gray, and she couldn't sense any other signs of life. But that voice seemed as though it was right beside her ears. She pondered for a moment, as if she was thinking about the other party's purpose. The other party didn't rush him either. After a long silence, she slowly said, What deal? The voice laughed. I have an item here that will definitely fetch the highest price in the auction. It can help you suppress the treasure's gathering exchange hall and win a bet with that woman. Xiao Yulu's eyes lit up. What is it? As long as you agree, that thing will appear in the auction in the name of Zhong Cheng trading firm tomorrow morning. The voice didn't intend to answer Xiao Yulu's question. Xiao Yulu furrowed her brows. How can I believe you? You can only choose to believe. The voice lowered its voice and revealed a trace of bewitching intent. Could it be that you don't want the treasure gathering to fail, and you don't want that woman to crawl beneath your feet? Just like that? A voice sounded in the direction of the voice. Xiao Yulu subconsciously looked in the direction of the young girl whom she had just beaten up. The girl in red fell to the ground, battered and battered. Xiao Yulu's eyes narrowed as a blazing flame spread in her eyes. Fine, I can believe you guys one more time. Then what do you want me to do? Chapter 36:44. The next day, the auction. All the citizens of the main cities had rushed over to participate in the annual Without Embroiling Cities auction. The entire Without Embroiling City was bustling with activity. Especially the citizens of Without Embroiling City, they were in high spirits. There were even people who set up bets on who would win the bet, Princess Yulu or Misty Luo. Yiqing Luo and the rest handed over their invitation and entered the auction. That was even more shocking. The scene of the auction could no longer be described as explosive. The auction in the land domain was an extremely important event. It was an annual event. It was a gathering of all the auction houses in the entire Earth realm to participate in this event. The participating auction houses would be ranked according to the amount of crystal stones they bid on the spot. For 5 consecutive years, the auction house with the lowest number of bids would have its marketing rights revoked. This was the reason why the 3 main cities' mysterious fairies left the Linglong Hall and returned to the main cities. Most importantly, the annual auction was not exclusive to Without Embroiling City. It was for the 3 main cities to compete for the right to host the auction. This was similar to the Olympic Games. Which country would it be held in? It was extremely significant. This year, Without Embroiling City had won the right to host the auction. This made City Lord Lu extremely excited. The auction would be held in the main city of Without Embroiling City, at the venue. Without Embroiling City was the largest venue in Without Embroiling City. It was used to receive outsiders and VIPs from the upper realm. After Yiqing Luo walked into Without Embroiling City, she estimated that it could accommodate at least 30,000 people. This venue was divided into 2 floors. The first floor was a reception hall. There were many benches placed there, and all of them were already full. There were a lot of people standing in the surrounding aisles. It completely explained the true meaning of a sea of people. On the second floor, there were boxes one after another. After one round, there were at least 100 to 200 private rooms. These were used to receive VIPs and representatives of the top 50 auction houses. Since 5 years ago, after that incident at the Treasure Exchange, Pei Sheng had never been to the second floor. But this time, perhaps it was because of Yiqing Luo and Xiao Yulu's bet. Or perhaps it was because Old Lai was by her side. City Lord Lu arranged a private room on the second floor for the Treasure Exchange. Moreover, the location was not bad. Yiqing Luo expressed that this was absolutely in order to please Old Lai, in order to have a relationship with the Hell Palace, so she specially arranged it. After entering the private room, Pei Sheng was obviously somewhat restrained. His body was tense, and his face was tense. Chapter 3645. The more he tried to calm down, the more anxious he felt. There was a trace of embarrassment on Pei Sheng's handsome face. I'm going out for a walk. I'll be back soon. Looking at the embarrassed look in the man's eyes, Yiqing Luo knew that too. This kid was probably so nervous that he wanted to go to the toilet. However, the door of the private room was just closed. Yiqing Luo heard an extremely sharp and unkind voice coming from outside the door. Yo, isn't this Boss Pei? Then a few mocking laughs rang out. Judging from the laughter, there were about 4 people. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. From his tone, it was obvious that he was here to cause trouble. She waved her sleeve. A surge of profound energy slightly opened and closed the door. Yiqing Luo saw Pei Sheng standing at the entrance, and in front of him were 4 wealthy-looking young men dressed in brocade robes. Pei Sheng didn't want to bother with him. He turned around and was about to return to the private room. However, one of them reached out and stopped Pei Sheng. He smiled and said, "Boss Pei, don't be in such a hurry to leave. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Aren't you going to greet an old friend?" The other 3 immediately surrounded Pei Sheng. Trapped in the middle, Pei Sheng lowered his head and tensed up. "I have nothing to say to you." "Yo, Boss Pei, you sure talk big." The man clicked his tongue and laughed. "I heard that treasure gathering house has climbed up the ladder and is preparing to win the honor of the best auction house in this auction. Is that why you're so proud of yourself?" Even though the man was praising Pei Sheng, however, it was obvious that they were mocking him. Pei Sheng's eyes were filled with anger. He struggled to break free from the man's hand and glared at him. "What happens to the treasure gathering has nothing to do with you. How could it have nothing to do with me? After all, we used to be brothers. The man winked and smiled as he hooked his arm around Pei Sheng's shoulder. Pei Sheng was so angry that his eyes turned red. He grabbed the man's hand and shook it off. Don't touch me. I don't know someone like you. Don't insult the word brother. The man who was flung away did not get angry. The other three men looked at each other and burst into laughter. Pei Sheng's face was filled with anger. However, he also knew that the auction was just around the corner, and he couldn't allow anything to go wrong at this moment. He suppressed his anger and looked at the person in front of him. Get out of the way. The man who was pushed away came forward with a cheeky smile. TSK, after 5 years, Boss Pei can finally come to the second floor of the auction again. Is it because City Lord Liu feels that after today, the signboard of the Treasure's trading house will be taken down, and he feels pity for you? So he is giving you one last chance to sit in the box on the second floor? Young Master Wang's words. That's true. How can a trashy auction house like Treasure Gathering be qualified to sit in our private room on the second floor? Isn't that lowering the status of our second floor? Right. We're all auction houses that are ranked in the top 50. The owner of a trashy auction house wants to sit with us? Is he looking down on us? Let's ask City Lord Liu what this means. When the men heard this, they cooperated and sang together. He even looked at Pei Sheng with disdain. Why does a person like you have to stand here? Do you still want to learn from your father's trick from 5 years ago? Fooling all the guests like fools? You don't want to learn anything, but you have to learn from your father, that liar. The three men kept humiliating him with words. Chapter 3646. Young Master Wang, who had his arm around Pei Sheng's shoulder, moved closer to Pei Sheng with his slightly plump body. He leaned close to Pei Sheng's ear and let out a low, evil laugh. Boss Pei, on account of our past relationship, I can't help to persuade my brothers to let you stay on the second level of the trading house, which represents the honor of the trading house, on the last day that the trading house still exists. Young Master Wang's voice paused for a moment. There was an indescribable meaning in his laughter. Of course, you also know that I won't do a losing business. I'll help you this time. How are you going to repay me? Under the pincer attack of the four men, Pei Sheng's slender body trembled slightly. He hung his head. His excessively long hair cast a shadow that covered half of his face, as well as his expression. Pei Sheng remained unmoved. He didn't even struggle. Young Master Wang, who was close to Pei Sheng, became even bolder. His hands went straight towards Pei Sheng's body and started to touch her. In the private room, Xiao Yinyan and Lao Lai both saw the scene outside the door. Lao Lai couldn't stand it anymore. His face darkened. How dare you touch the person under my protection? Are you looking down on the underworld palace? He slammed the table and was about to rush out of the room. Xiao Yinyan frowned and looked at Yi Qing Luo. Luo, aren't you going to help? As he spoke, he stood up. As soon as Pei Sheng was stopped by the four men, Xiao Yinyan and Old Lai had already made their moves. But seeing that Yi Qing Luo had yet to make a move, only then did they endure it. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed as her slender brows creased slightly, as though she was pondering over something. She stared unblinkingly at Pei Sheng outside the door. When she saw that the man's hand was already reaching for Pei Sheng's, but her frown deepened. A layer of red light appeared in his eyes. She stood up and was about to follow them out of the private room. Suddenly, her eyes flashed as if she had seen something. He reached out and grabbed Xiao Yinyan and Old Lai's arms. Wait! The two of them stopped and turned their heads towards Yi Qing Luo in puzzlement. Was he not going to help Pei Sheng? If he still didn't make a move, Pei Sheng was about to be molested by a man. Yi Qing Luo's gaze was fixed on the front as she said word by word, "Look." Just then, a bang sound of collision rang out. What followed was a blood-curdling scream. The two of them looked over at the same time. In the next instant, his pupils unconsciously dilated. His mouth also unconsciously opened wide. They saw. At the door, Pei Sheng, who looked like a little lamb that had been bullied, reached out and grabbed the hand that was still moving down her waist. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Pei Sheng broke young Master Wang's hand without hesitation. Then he raised his leg and kicked young Master Wang in the stomach. Chapter 36:47. What made the two of them dumbfounded was even more surprising. After Pei Sheng knocked down the three men, he walked directly towards one of them. He pulled that man who was crying out in pain and punched that man's face. Left and right, punch after punch, as though he wanted to beat that man to death. That man was originally still able to cry out miserably as he struggled to break free from Pei Sheng. But as Pei Sheng's fist continued to fall, the man's voice became weaker and weaker. The three men beside him were so frightened that they didn't dare to help. This commotion attracted the VIPs in the surrounding cabins or the exchange house representatives to crowd around. No way. The auction is about to start. If Brother Pei creates trouble at this time, he will be disqualified from participating in the auction. Xiao Yinyan looked at the surrounding people who were pointing at Pei Sheng, talking about something, and his expression instantly turned grave. Yiqing Luo frowned when she heard that. This was probably Xiao Yulu's design. She intentionally wanted to provoke Pei Sheng, using the auction's rules to disqualify them from participating in the auction. Once Treasure's Exchange House couldn't participate in the auction, Treasure's Exchange House would not be able to obtain the honor of the best exchange house. The reason why she didn't make a move earlier was because she didn't understand this rule. Part of the reason was that he wanted to see what kind of power Pei Sheng possessed, because just as they were about to walk out of the cabin to help Pei Sheng, her profound jade heart suddenly surged with a scorching feeling. The profound jade heart's power extended to her eyes. She clearly saw Pei Sheng's body, encircled by a layer of golden glow which she couldn't see through. That glow was very dazzling, and it was releasing a dense energy. It made her profound jade heart very restless. Yiqing Luo also noticed it. Other than the golden glow on Pei Sheng's body, the others, including Old Lai and Xiao Yinyan, didn't seem to notice Pei Sheng's abnormality. So she pulled the both of them back. But she had not expected, as the golden glow became more and more brilliant. Pei Sheng was actually able to use his own power to directly take down four men whose abilities weren't weak. She pursed her lips. Looking at Pei Sheng, who had lost control, she said, "Pull him back first." Just as Xiao Yinyan was about to push open the door, his hand paused, and his expression changed slightly. "It's too late. City Lord Lu and the Executive Elder are here." Yiqing Luo looked over. City Lord Lu, who was dressed in a dark robe, and two old men who looked like immortals walked over quickly. When the three of them arrived, the onlookers cheered as they watched the show. City Lord Lu is here. The Executive Elder is here. The crowd dispersed, making way for City Lord Lu and the two Executive Elders. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Pei Sheng seemed as if he didn't hear it, and he still fiercely and barbarically punched the man who was on the verge of death. That ruthless look, it was like a beast that had been trapped for a long time. His entire body exuded a horrifying, evil aura. "Stop! Stop! What's going on?" When City Lord Lu walked over, he saw that Pei Sheng was still acting tyrannically. His face darkened, and he walked over with a stern roar. However, before he could get close to Pei Sheng suddenly raised his head, and a pair of bloodshot eyes, like a wild beast, stared fiercely at him. City Lord Lu was so shocked that his footsteps halted as his expression changed. Chapter 36:48. Pei Sheng's action was obviously challenging the authority of the Executive Elder and Governor Lu. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, their faces darkened. Pei Sheng half knelt on the ground, one hand holding the man's collar, his fist full of blood. As he raised his head, his eyes were bloodshot as he glared at the person in front of him. It was as if he did not hear their words at all. The two Executive Elders looked at each other. Suddenly, He clenched his hands into fists and simultaneously moved towards Pei Sheng's left and right. His fingers were like eagle claws as he grabbed Pei Sheng's shoulders. A golden light flashed in Pei Sheng's eyes. The vicious aura of a trapped beast became more and more intense. The crowd could not help but sigh. Obviously, he was in a fight with the executive elder. TSK. They did not know which trading house dared to ignore the executive elder of the auction and even fight with him. There was such a wonderful show in this year's auction. It was a worthwhile trip. Just as the two executive elders approached Pei Sheng's aura surged. Suddenly, a hurricane came. Then, a white figure appeared in front of Pei Sheng, blocking his way. One on the left and one on the right. It held the arms of the executive elder. At the same time, a sweet voice sounded, "Executive Elder and Governor Liu, please forgive me." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. A figure that looked like a raging flame slowly approached Pei Sheng. The girl's red clothes were burning like fire. She had an outstanding temperament, and her every move revealed an aura that made people feel pressured. When everyone wanted to see the girl's face, it was covered by a white veil. However, the white veil was half covered, which made the girl more beautiful and unparalleled. "Miss, be careful of that person. He's not normal," someone reminded the girl who was approaching Pei Sheng out of good intentions. However, in the next moment, his eyes widened in shock. The girl slowly walked to Pei Sheng's side, bent down slightly, and covered Pei Sheng's head with her slender white hand. The aura of the man who was like a trapped beast was calmed down bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, the ruthless man had already let go of his hand. He swayed his body and got up. When Pei Sheng left the man who was violently beaten to death, a few men at the side immediately rushed forward and dragged him to the side. While dragging, he stared at Pei Sheng cautiously. He made sure that Pei Sheng didn't do anything. Only then did he feel relieved. Everyone's gaze fell on the young girl in unison. He seemed to be thinking about the girl's identity. Look at that man who was a head taller than the young girl. Just now, he was so fierce that even City Lord Liu didn't dare to approach him. At this moment, it was like an obedient pet, standing obediently behind the young girl. "Let go of me." Suddenly, an angry voice broke everyone's suspicions about the young girl. He shifted his gaze. Only then did he realize that just now, when the two executive elders wanted to hold Pei Sheng down and stop him from hurting more people, Pei Sheng's expression suddenly changed. It seemed like he had been intercepted. A single person intercepting two executive elders? How could they not pay attention to such a shocking thing? It seemed like, ever since the red-clothed girl appeared, all of their attention was involuntarily focused on the young girl. That red-clothed girl was simply poisonous. Everyone's gaze fell on the person who intercepted her. That person was wearing a gray robe that hung loosely on his body. His hair was neatly combed, but still a little messy. Chapter 36:49. But on that person's robe, there was a huge prison word. Everyone's expression changed as their eyes were filled with shock. Even the executive elder, who flew into a rage out of humiliation, turned pale. So, he was from the Hell Palace. No wonder he could block the two executive elders with his own power. "Senior, Hell Palace." The executive elder spoke with an ugly expression. "I didn't know that Hell Palace Senior was coming. Please forgive me for not going out to welcome you." After everyone heard the executive elder's words, they confirmed that this person in front of them was indeed from the Hell Palace. All of them were so shocked that they took several steps back. Their faces were filled with terror as they stared at Old Lai, as though they had seen some kind of dreadful beast. City Lord Liu saw Old Lai coming out and immediately went up to him with a smile. "Hell Palace Senior, please calm down. Please calm down. It's just a small misunderstanding. Please let go of the two executive elders first." In front of so many people, the executive elder of the auction was held in such a position by a person unable to resist or move. It was really damaging to the auction's reputation. Especially, this was without embroiling City. If they infuriated the Hell Palace Senior. In this auction, they would create a huge ruckus. The one who would suffer in the end would be him. He absolutely must not mess up this auction. City Lord Lu smiled along. Old Lai shot a glance towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Seeing Yi Qing Luo nodding, he released his hands and clapped his palms. We are all civilized people. Don't make a move so easily. Civilized people? People from the Hell Palace had the cheek to call themselves civilized people. He was cursing wildly in his heart, but he still hung a smile on his face as he nodded in agreement. What Hell Palace Senior said is right. We are all civilized people. Old Lai snorted and ignored City Lord Lu's fawning as he walked towards Pei Sheng's back and directly stretched out his hand, pulling Pei Sheng's ear. You brat, where did your brute force come from? I actually didn't realize that you have such an ability. Pei Sheng's handsome face surfaced a layer of sullen anger. His eyes were red as he stared at the man who had fainted on the ground. I don't care how he humiliates me, but he shouldn't have said that about my father. Those three men instantly reacted. No wonder Pei Sheng didn't hit anyone. Just focus on that kid and beat him up. Just because of that brat's words, Pei Sheng wanted to learn from his father, that swindler. This caused Pei Sheng to go crazy. Ahem, it's just a misunderstanding. It's fine, it's fine. City Lord Lu coughed lightly and tried to smooth things over, but not waiting for him to finish. However, the girl's clear and sweet voice suddenly became a little cold. The girl tilted her head slightly and looked at Pei Sheng with a cold expression. She asked, from your tone, it seems like you didn't do anything wrong, right? Pei Sheng met Yi Qing Luo's gaze, but it only lasted for several breaths before he shifted his gaze away. But his neck was raised high. He seemed to be saying that he didn't think he had hit the wrong person. Yi Qing Luo laughed. Right? You didn't do anything wrong. After venting out the resentment in your heart, no one dared to insult your father anymore. You feel that you're very powerful, right? Let's do it this way. In the future, if anyone says anything bad about your father, you can go up and beat them up until they are convinced. Beat them up until they don't dare to insult your father. How about that? Pei Sheng's body stiffened, and his pale face started to flush red. A pair of wandering gaze floated towards Yi Qing Luo's face from time to time. Chapter 3650. Pei Sheng pursed his lips into a thin line. Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms over her chest as she gave him a glance with a smile, which didn't look like a smile, her expression indifferent. The entire second floor fell into silence. No one spoke to break the stalemate. The atmosphere was getting heavier and heavier. It made everyone feel a little oppressed in their hearts. However, City Lord Lu did not say anything. The executive elder did not say anything. The senior from the Underworld Palace didn't say anything. The others didn't dare to make sound. There was a moment of silence. Pei Sheng couldn't take the pressure. He lowered his head and said in a low voice, I'm sorry. I was wrong. You're not wrong. How could you be wrong? Yi Qing Luo chuckled. Her attitude was cold. Pei Sheng's body trembled and he bent down. Ah Luo, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I was really wrong. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as she fixed her gaze on Pei Sheng for some time before she opened her mouth faintly. Then tell me, where did you go wrong? Pei Sheng's body stiffened again. He did not reply. Yi Qing Luo took a glance at Old Lai. Lao Lai understood. He put his arm around Pei Sheng's shoulder and helped him up. Pei Sheng straightened his back. A pair of wandering eyes met with Yi Qing Luo's slightly indifferent eyes. There's no need for you to apologize to me. If you feel that you're not wrong, then you're not wrong. Yi Qing Luo looked at him as she replied indifferently. Pei Sheng looked in her eyes. There seemed to be something surging in his heart. After a moment, he forcefully closed his eyes and said very slowly, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so impulsive. I shouldn't have used the future treasure gathering just to vent my anger. The expression on Pei Sheng's face was complicated. I know what you mean, Aluo. You want me to face everything calmly and not be led by the nose by others after he awoke from his rage. Pei Sheng knew that he was too impulsive. However, He did not regret it, because he would never allow anyone to insult his father. But facing Yi Qing Luo's flat tone of questioning. However, he couldn't confidently say something like, "I know I was wrong, but I don't regret it." He knew what Yi Qing Luo said was because she was angry. She was angry that he had acted so rashly despite knowing the rules of the auction. With this, the treasures gathering exchange didn't have the qualifications to participate in the auction at all. His impulsiveness had not only harmed the treasure exchange, and also harmed Yi Qing Luo. This realization made Pei Sheng feel even more guilty. "I should have remembered your words. I should have used my actions to prove Treasure Gathering Society's name instead of acting rashly, but it had already happened." The people he had beaten up were the young masters of 3 of the top 10 trading houses in the trading world. To be able to rank in the top 10 trading houses, the power behind them was not to be underestimated. Those families definitely wouldn't allow Treasure Gathering to continue participating in the auction. Looking at the guilt on Pei Sheng's face, it was clear that he understood the mistake of his impulsiveness. The expression on Yi Qing Luo's face eased up slightly. She leaned forward and gently patted Pei Sheng's shoulder. He seemed to be comforting Pei Sheng. As she approached Pei Sheng, she lowered her voice and said to Pei Sheng, "You should know that you are now representing the entire Treasure Assembly Exchange. Your every action will be closely watched by others. These 4 people, when the Treasure's trading house was in its prime, you should have been good brothers who talked about everything, right?" Chapter 36:51. Obviously, she had guessed correctly again. Yi Qing Luo continued, "These 4 people should be intentionally invited by mysterious maiden to agitate you, to lure you into making a move. In this way, treasure gathering will be removed from the auction." Pei Sheng's pupils suddenly shrank. Then what should we do?" Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. "Now you know how to be nervous?" I was wrong." Pei Sheng lowered his head, his tone full of guilt. Yi Qing Luo released his shoulder and took a deep look at him. Naturally, she couldn't just watch as treasure gathering was removed from the list. Old Lai was here. The auction would most likely give face to the Underworld Palace. However, Yi Qing Luo felt that Xiao Yilu might not give up so easily. She glanced at Pei Sheng again and sighed. Forget it. This time, he would treat it as a lesson for Pei Sheng. Being able to change the fact that he would go berserk and ignore the consequences whenever he heard insulting words about his father was not a bad thing. However, before this, she still had one more thing to settle. All right. Don't blame Boss Pei, Miss D. I'm afraid this is just a misunderstanding. Don't let a misunderstanding affect everyone's relationship." Seeing that Yi Qing Luo had stopped reprimanding Pearson, City Lord Lu immediately spoke up to smooth things over. Since Di Luo would reprimand Pei Sheng, this meant that Di Luo was trying to resolve this issue. This was an inevitable choice. At this critical juncture, the Treasures Exchange House was in a critical state. If he could avoid causing trouble or standing out, he would try his best to keep a low profile. As long as Di Luo was willing to relent, this matter would definitely be resolved satisfactorily. City Lord Lu heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Then, he looked at the 4 representatives of the auction house with a dignified expression. "Since this matter is a misunderstanding, let's shake hands and make peace. Wait for the auction to begin and don't cause any more trouble." The 4 representatives of the trading house were supporting their young masters. When they heard City Lord Lu's words, their faces turned green. He had beaten their young master into a pig's head. How could he say it was a misunderstanding? This was especially true for the representative of the trading firm, who had been beaten to the brink of death and had almost lost half of his life. However, looking at the warning look in Lord Lu's eyes, behind City Lord Lu, there were 2 executive elders with ashen faces. In the end, he kept his mouth shut. They still wanted to participate in the auction. The threat in City Lord Lu's words just now was very obvious. They did not dare to resent City Lord Lu and the executive elder. So he placed all his anger onto the treasures exchange hall, especially on Yi-Ching Luo. Seeing that the representatives of the 4 trading houses had tacitly agreed with City Lord Lu's words, City Lord Lu then smiled at Yi-Ching Luo. Misty. He had only spat out 3 words. The girl's cold, mocking voice rang in his ears. Misunderstanding? Who told you that this was a misunderstanding? City Lord Lu was taken aback. What? Yi-Ching Luo crossed her arms in front of her chest as she slightly raised her chin and sneered at City Lord Lu. The auction is such a strict and solemn place, and this group of people actually gathered together to bully our treasures trading house, trying to join hands to chase them away from the 2nd floor. She snorted coldly and slowly took a step forward. He took a step forward. The crowd could only feel an invisible pressure pressing down on them. Yi-Ching Luo's lips curled upwards as she sneered. They're only questioning City Lord Lu's arrangements? Does City Lord Lu think that this is a misunderstanding? The faces of the representatives of the 4 trading houses alternated between green and white. Chapter 3652. What gathering a crowd to bully Bao Ju? It was obviously their young master. Yet he was beaten up by Pei Sheng, all right? They swallowed their anger and didn't haggle over it. This young lady actually dared to find trouble with them? One City Lord Lu's expression didn't look too good, although Yi-Ching Luo's words seemed to be speaking up for him, teaching those who doubted his authority. But this was obviously Yi-Ching Luo intentionally dragged him into this. Yi-Ching Luo had no intention to let these 4 representatives off. Yi-Ching Luo's action, which made Pei Sheng slightly astonished. He didn't quite understand. Luo clearly knew that he was in the wrong for beating them up. City Lord Lu and the executive elder didn't pursue the matter and let Bao Ju continue to stay in the auction. This was already the biggest preferential treatment, wasn't it? Pei Sheng looked at Xiao Yinyan in puzzlement, hoping to get an answer. But he saw Xiao Yinyan's puzzled face. But at the next moment, Xiao Yinyan seemed to have thought of something as a smile surfaced on his face. Pei Sheng was puzzled. Xiao Yinyan walked to his side and lightly patted his shoulder as he spoke in a low voice. Earlier, Luo saw the scene of you being bullied by those 4 people outside the door. She is the most protective and can't tolerate anyone bullying her brother in front of her. She is helping you to vent your anger. Xiao Yinyan's words made Pei Sheng stunned on the spot. His eyes widened, and there seemed to be something churning in his heart. Luo did it for him, so she did it in this way. Yi-Ching Luo's overbearing manner and her righteous words made the other party unable to say a single word of rebuttal. City Lord Lu tried to interrupt Yi-Ching Luo's words several times, but he was interrupted by Yi-Ching Luo's extremely fast speed. In the end, City Lord Lu's face was steely green, and when Yi-Ching Luo stopped, he asked with a black face, "According to Miss D's meaning, what does Miss D want?" Yi-Ching Luo raised her brows as she slightly raised her chin and smiled. Towards this kind of trading house, which doesn't know how to respect the auction's rules and also doubts City Lord Lu's decision, I feel that we should directly cancel their right to participate in the auction. The minute Yi-Ching Luo's words were heard, the surrounding people started to draw in cold air. The faces of the 4 trading house representatives were livid, and they couldn't help but want to curse angrily. But Yi-Ching Luo sighed again, but in this way. The punishment towards them is equivalent to cutting off the trading house's escape route. I'm such a kind-hearted person, so I definitely can't bear to do that. As she spoke, she blinked her charming eyes. With a "I'm pure, I'm kind" expression on her face, she looked at the 4 trading house representatives with a smile. How about this? Aside from apologizing to Treasure Gathering, I'll punish you by disqualifying you from staying in the private rooms on the 2nd floor. All of you can go to the 1st floor and participate in the auction. The representatives of the 4 trading houses looked as if a dive vat had been opened. The faces of Governor Lu and the executive elder were extremely ugly. The 2 executive elders looked at each other and said solemnly, "This matter is of great importance." Give us some time to consider. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. Take your time to consider. After all, I am so kind. The representatives of the 4 trading houses almost vomited blood as they cursed in their hearts. Kind my ass. The executive elder pulled City Lord Lu and walked towards the direction where there were fewer people. Chapter 36:53. City Lord Lu shook his head. I haven't found out her identity yet. What relationship does she have with Hell Palace? Executive Elder's expression was grave. Details that no one else had noticed. Executive Elder sensed it. That Hell Palace senior was very obedient to the young lady's words. No matter what he did, he seemed to notice the young lady's expression. As long as the young lady gave a signal, he would immediately take action. One must know that bunch of lunatics from Hell Palace were known as the most feared lunatics in the Earth Realm. That wasn't without reason. That bunch of lunatics had no rationality at all. They acted according to their own interests. Every powerhouse in the Earth Realm wanted to climb up to Hell Palace. But at the same time, they were afraid of Hell Palace. There was no one who could make the Hell Palace's lunatics treat them with respect. That young lady was someone who could order people from Hell Palace around. Who on earth was she? Before they were clear about this matter, the 2 executive elders didn't dare to show any unhappiness towards Yiqing Luo. City Lord Lu's expression turned ugly as he glanced at Yiqing Luo, who was standing not too far away with an indifferent attitude as he clenched his fists. I heard from Hell Palace's senior that the young lady named Di Luo is their Hell Palace's distinguished guest. Hell Palace's distinguished guest? Executive Elder's brows creased tightly. What kind of distinguished guest could Hell Palace have? Who could make Hell Palace's people treat them as a distinguished guest? I'm not too sure about the exact situation. City Lord Lu had some suspicions towards Yiqing Luo, but after this period of observation, Hell Palace's attitude towards Miss D is absolutely not fake. Executive Elder exchanged glances. If it really implicates Hell Palace and messes up the auction, this is not just our Executive Elder's responsibility. City Lord Lu nodded. On account of Hell Palace's face, we'd better try our best to satisfy Miss D's request. If they made Hell Palace's senior unhappy, Hell Palace came to create a scene. This year's auction would definitely turn into a joke. All those who were in charge of the auction had to bear this responsibility. They didn't want to be the scapegoat. It was better to turn a big problem into a small one and a small one into nothing. At most, after this matter had ended, they would personally talk to those powerhouses behind the exchange. They would personally talk to them. Those forces would more or less give them some face. Pay more attention to the treasures gathering exchange hall, so as to avoid any other strange occurrences during the auction. After the executive elder made his decision, he gave a few more instructions. City Lord Lu replied. The 3 of them returned together to Yiqing Luo and the others. Yiqing Luo looked at them smilingly. Between her long and narrow eyes, light flowed, like rippling streams of light, shining resplendently. It was a smile that could topple a city. However, when City Lord Lu and the 2 executive elders saw this, they felt their chests tighten. Ahem, after our discussion, we feel that Miss D's words make sense. City Lord Lu cleared his throat and announced the decision of the 3 of them. When the words left his mouth, the faces of the representatives of the 4 trading houses immediately darkened as they stared at City Lord Lu in disbelief. He was about to open his mouth to argue. Suddenly, a cold and dignified voice stopped City Lord Lu from continuing. Wait. Along with the sound, a hurricane swept through the corridor on the 2nd floor. Following that, 2 figures appeared before the crowd with lightning speed. 2 figures, one tall and one short, one slender like a Lolita. When the people of the Earth Domain faced the Linglong Palace, the Earth Domain's people had no choice. It was like facing the 4 great sects of the Nirvana realm. A kind of fear and respect had been born in his heart. Looks like my pretentious act is going to fail. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and said with a chuckle. Xiao Yinyan's expression was still very calm. You don't seem to be panicking. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. I'm in the right. Naturally, I won't panic. While the two were talking, those two hall masters had already sized Yiqing Luo up from head to toe. The eyes of the lowly hall master Lu were filled with disdain and mockery. She ridiculed as her red lips curled upwards, as her lively and adorable big eyes sparkled with a chilly luster. The treasure trading house had seriously injured the representatives of the other 4 trading houses and even fell into a coma. Don't tell me that the person in charge of the treasure trading house doesn't intend to say anything? Pei Sheng was locked onto by Hall Master Lu's gaze. His entire person froze on the spot. Chapter 3655. I'm asking about the person in charge of treasure gathering, are you? Hall Master Lu glanced sideways at Yiqing Luo as he spoke in an arrogant tone. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Was he trying to intimidate her by showing off his power? Yiqing Luo raised her brows, but didn't say another word. She took a look at Pei Sheng as she elbowed him. Pei Sheng's breathing halted as sweat started to form on his forehead. Why? The person in charge of treasure gathering has nothing to say? Since that's the case, that means he has tacitly agreed to the act of beating up the other 4 representatives till they fainted. Hall Master Lu's tone suddenly rose. That adorable Lolita face was filled with a dark aura. The sweat on Pei Sheng's forehead continued to flow down his face and neck. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter. Was this Hall Master Lu someone whom Xiao Yilu asked for help? Intentionally releasing his might, giving Pei Sheng an invisible pressure, causing Pei Sheng to be unable to maintain his consciousness, just to make Pei Sheng admit his own crime, and then to make use of this as a pretext? Pei Sheng's entire body tensed up as he was drenched in cold sweat, staining his robe. Suddenly, Xiao Yinyan walked up and raised his hand, placing it on Pei Sheng's shoulder. Pei Sheng's body trembled slightly, as though he was controlled by some kind of power. That pair of eyes, which had widened in fear, slowly regained its clarity and vigor. Person in charge of treasure gathering? Hall Master Lu frowned as he looked at Xiao Yinyan. Probably because Xiao Yinyan was the eldest young master of the Qiao family. But he didn't say anything more. Pei Sheng raised his head abruptly as he looked straight at Hall Master Lu. His voice was slightly trembling, but he was still very clear. Regarding what Hall Master said, I have an objection. Hall Master Lu's expression congealed slightly as he looked in surprise at Pei Sheng, who had struggled free from her might, asking, What objection do you have? Pei Sheng's face trembled slightly as his eyelashes trembled violently. Apparently, he was feeling nervous. However, he still tried his best to maintain a calm tone as he replied, Hall Master, you should be very clear about the strength of the Treasures Exchange House over the past 5 years. This is my last chance, as well as my only chance. I won't be foolish enough to break the rules of the auction and cause myself to lose my only chance. You mean you didn't hit them? Hall Master Lu sneered. Pei Sheng shook his head. No, I did. Since you've made a move, you've broken the rules of the auction. Hall Master Lu looked at the executive elder and said, Since the person in charge of the treasure gathering hall has admitted to it, we'll deal with him according to the rules. Executive Elder's expression changed slightly as he looked at Yiqing Luo apprehensively. Wait. Pei Sheng interrupted Hall Master Lu. I admit that I made a move, but it's not my fault. I don't think I should bear the responsibility. He didn't wait for Hall Chief Lu to refute and continued. As I said before, this is my only chance. I can't take the initiative to pick a fight. Even if I didn't take the initiative to provoke you, you still made a move on me. Pavilion Master Lu insisted on this point. Pei Sheng wanted to say something. Suddenly, a gust of cold wind brushed past him. A white shadow flew out. Powerful, profound qi burst out from his body. His hands, which were full of scars, were like sharp claws, and they went straight for Hall Master Lu's face. Hall Master Lu's expression turned grave as he quickly retreated. Hall Master G, who was watching from the side, immediately rushed forward and joined forces with Hall Master Lu to counterattack. Both of their expressions were severe as their palms struck downwards. The palm wind brushed past that white shadow. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.